That was some really great intro music, guys.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Best I've heard.
Shout out to Scott Little.
Yeah.
Amazing. But seriously, shout out to Scott. I literally can't get enough of it. It's so good. So. And
welcome back to Not My Fantasy. I am Cullen.
And I'm Hannah.
Oh, and our things, we explore the lore that inspires our favorite and least favorite fantasy films.
Oh yeah, our tagline. Oops.
Our tagline, yeah.
That's fine. And
today we have special guests, Lord of the Rings, kind of super fan and a half, blossoming super fan, Paul and Tori of the Sillymarillion.
Hello.
Hello.
We do not have a
Hi.
tagline for our podcast, unfortunately.
Do we not? We don't have a single tagline, but we have many lines that get reused and recycled.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, welcome. I don't think
I
we
love
had
the name of your podcast, by the way. It's
Sillymarillion.
so
Sillymarillion, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a fun little pod called the Sillymarillion where we do kind of have a tagline where Paul, the lore keeper, takes Tori, the newcomer, through all of Tolkien's work.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yes. It is excellent. I've listened to a few episodes, getting over the fact that the first time, like, I think this was like in the winter, like almost a year ago, I was listening to like the first episode and I almost shit myself in traffic because, as you know, LA is the worst city to poop in. The traffic is so bad and there's like nowhere to go.
LA is the poop desert.
It truly is. So yeah, I got over that and I was like, okay, I can get over that for Tom Bombadil. So
I'm glad we were able to help you through it.
Is our podcast particularly poop inducing? Like when you go into like a Barnes and Noble?
That's what I thought.
and-
This was like some brown noise or something.
it just makes you feel cozy.
I have subtly inserted its
brown
subliminal messaging through the
Listen, listeners, if you're ever constipating, you know what to do.
You know what to do.
The
We have the
Sillymarillion.
podcast for you. That's our new tagline.
the
Thanks for workshopping
Sillymarillion.
it
You'll
with us,
shit
guys.
yourself. Preferably listen to on the toilet.
Yeah, so we're here to talk about 2003's Return of the King. Have we seen this movie before?
Yes, we have. Tori definitely has, because she was forced at gunpoint by a friend to watch the Lord of the Rings films, and then we actually got to watch it in a theater when I went out to LA for the first time. They were
My second
airing-
time seeing it.
Yeah, they were airing the extended editions in the theater, and Tori's friend Molly basically got us tickets because she knew I was going to be in town, and it was also it was one of those swanky theaters where it wasn't just you scoot into like that really like that seat that was meant for smaller people, because back in the day people were on average quite small, and it was like you had, in fact, I sat next to your sister when we were watching it at the theater.
I was gonna say, I think Kate mentioned that, movie going is for Bilbo's birthday bash, and it's just a bunch of nerds went to go watch it in theaters, which was, I only recently started watching it, like within the past couple years. So being able to actually watch it in theaters was an experience I didn't think I was going to have, because this movie came out in 2003. Why would they be back in theaters?
Because because its fans are obsessive, and we would demand
it.
it.
Yeah, I had never seen the extended edition. I know I've seen this movie because I did recognize parts of it. I don't know what was extended about it, except that it was 4.5 hours long.
That's exactly what was extended about it. It was all the extra
Just
scenes.
the time.
Well, I've only ever seen the extended edition, but every once in a while I'll read, oh, this is only in the extended edition. And some of it is stuff that I'm like, I feel like the movie makes no sense without, like, it's like they don't explain what happens to Saruman, I think, in the OG cut. And I'm like,
he just stays in prison, he's just
in the tower.
He lives out the rest of his life on
house arrest.
In house arrest, basically.
Tower arrest.
Unimpaled. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I've only ever seen the extended edition. couldn't tell you what happens in the regular edition.
Again, as you should. The theatrical edition is very meh. Like, and this is coming from the guy who, like, when he asked for the movies, his parents only got him the theatrical editions. Like, I barely watched those. Like, my parents got them and they're like, oh, you'll be watching them all the time. And I'm like, they're not the extended edition. So as soon as like I had my own money, I bought the box sets. Who do you think I am,
edition
mother?
Or bust.
Yes.
That happened with Two Towers. My dad like bought Two Towers and Kate was like, it's not the extended.
This is less than worthless, father.
Yeah, I used to say, if people ask me, I used to say this was my favorite movie. I don't, this sounds harsh, but I don't know if it cracks the top 10 anymore, but
You've
it's still
grown as a person.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if it's better than Mean Girls, but it's still pretty good.
Okay, never mind. You're wrong. It's better than Mean. I'm sorry. I enjoy Mean Girls as much as the next fellow, but I cannot say it is better than Return of the King. Well, maybe the 4-hour extended edition of Mean Girls. But
I was gonna say.
With all those deleted scenes
where we watched
with all those impalings.
Instead of the bus hitting her, she just falls off the orthonk and just gets impaled on a mill.
Yeah, I mean, I'd read that crossover fic. I did.
No, I'm here for it.
I googled Valar fan fiction today.
Oh, there's plenty.
There's someone invented their own Valar.
Yeah,
like a loved one. She's like a love goddess. Yeah,
they had their own OC Valar.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? That's the most creative OC idea.
Where you're like, my OC is a god. It's like, wow.
You can't complain it's overpowered because that's their job.
I've never looked up if the Valar have fan fiction, and I'm ashamed of myself.
You gotta read your Varda fan fiction.
Yeah,
Tori. That's your whole shtick.
So
wait, I just looked up Valor and there's like One Direction fanfic. That's not what I'm looking for. All right, we'll come back to this.
My Valar sold me to One Direction. So this movie was directed by Peter Jackson, written by Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens, and Peter Jackson, starring the same people as last time, along with Lawrence McCoy as the Witch King and John Noble as Denethor. It grossed over 1.1 billion worldwide in 2003.
That's pre-recession money right there.
Yeah.
That is, you could still afford a house.
Yeah, all that expendable income.
Yeah. The highest grossing film of 2003 and the second highest grossing film of all time at the time of its release.
Titanic always beats it out, doesn't it? I bet he knew that first one was Titanic.
Well, Titanic's about to come up because it received at the 76th Academy Awards, it won all 11 awards for which it was nominated, including Best Picture, tying with 1959's Ben-Hur and 1997's Titanic as the movie with the most Academy Award wins.
Damn.
Oh.
Why was Titanic so popular? This is not associated with Return of the King. Why did they feel the need to give them so many
I have a lot of thoughts.
Each episode is dedicated to a different 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, it's an all right movie, but all Academy Awards it was nominated for?
That's crazy.
Well, it's all politics, man.
Everything's rigged.
Yeah.
Damn Hollywood.
As we know from Adele Dazim's insult at the 2013 Oscars, which is literally the reason I stopped watching them. So, all right.
Oh God.
We got. This is such a. I remember someone told me to get over it, and they were obsessed with writing movies about Vietnam in the 70s. So it's kind of like, who needs to get over something? So these are
the quick social commentaries the listeners probably tune in for, isn't it?
We love a tangent. Yeah.
Hollywood is fake. It's not real. You think it's a good movie? It's not. They just want you to think it is.
It's run by Illuminati, you know. Katy Perry when she accidentally killed that nun.
It's all based on market shares. It's not about artistic value at all.
So some of its wins were Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, Best Film Editing, Best Makeup, Best Original Score, Best Original Song, Best Sound Mixing, Best Visual Effects.
I think all well deserved. I think this is one of the few Oscars where I'm like, you know
what was it competing with?
Yeah. What was it?
What came out in 2000?
The Lizzie
Yeah,
McGuire
seriously.
movie.
Nothing, just Return of the King.
No, Revenge of the Sith was 2005.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let's see.
Yeah, what came out in 2003 when I was 5 years old?
I'm relying on other people to do this Google search.
Yeah, we're all just looking at Hannah at this point. Like,
School of Rock, Holes. Okay, quality.
Okay, School of Rock deserves like a best comedy for sure.
I put in 2003 top grossing movies. Yes, the Lizzie McGuire movie.
What number of top grossing is Lizzie McGuire, just for my own edification?
Which is great because I've actually never watched all of Lizzie McGuire.
I was forced to watch it on a cappella tour in the bus. Like all the girls were like, "Oh, let's watch Lizzie McGuire," and I'm like,
"Okay."
I used to call it Taken Part 1.
Okay, Mystic River was also nominated. Like Tim Robbins is in that.
Mystic River.
So it was 76.
So not necessarily memorable.
The box office 2003, first top 5: Finding Nemo, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, The Matrix Reloaded, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, and Bruce Almighty.
Wait, hold on.
Bruce Almighty. Okay, so we're dealing with that.
Wait, Pirates of the Caribbean came out the same year.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So
it was the first
picture,
one.
Yeah.
Best Picture was Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, Lost in Translation, Master and Commander, Mystic River, and Seabiscuit.
Okay, but Master and Commander is a very good film, though.
Haven't seen any of the others.
I haven't seen any of them.
Monster with Charlize Theron. What else? The Last Samurai. But according to this Wikipedia, okay, never mind. Okay, for a second I thought Johnny Depp had won the Academy Award, but he was nominated for an Academy Award that year for Jack Sparrow.
Oh my god!
But
Best actor.
Jack Sparrow is iconic.
Yes, but it is bananas to think about that, especially like now what that character had become.
Yeah.
American Splendor.
I do want to do.
Jack Sparrow was good up until the third movie, and then they're just like, "You want just Jack Sparrow?" I'm like, "No, I need some Will Turner in there as well. Give me some Elizabeth Swann."
I can't wait. I want to do a series on different pirate movies at some point.
Ooh.
Of course, including
gotta feature Muppet Treasure Island.
Treasure Island. Hannah loves the Muppets.
Love them. Big fan of a Muppet.
I love a good Muppet.
So, okay, so for the past two ones, we've talked about the outside lore of just reality that inspired the Legendarium. And we also talked about the War on Terror and the World Wars and how that kind of influenced things. But now, we have some experts here because we're going to be talking about the lore of
singular expert. I'm just here.
Oh, don't sell yourself
That's
short,
how I feel too.
Tori.
He's the researcher.
I did a lot of this from memory, but I did have like a quick timeline because sometimes it's like, okay, what exact order did these events? Kind of like real history, I have like a era general, but I'm like, I can't tell you like the exact order, unless it's like a sequence. I'm double-sided. All right. So we talked about how he did this to kind of make his own mythology for England. I think he kind of honestly spun out of control from there.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Man, this English mythology is a lot more interesting than England itself.
But actually, yeah, like where are the elves? We just get imperialism?
Or hobbits.
So we have Iluvatar, who's God. It's the big G. And he has all these spirits and he makes a song, and that song makes the world. However, the first one he made, this little shit, Melkor, starts ruining it.
Such a little shit.
Yeah, he's just a little shit. He's just a little petty bitch. And he ruins it because he wants to do his own stuff, and he has his own like clique of spirits that are on
He wants
team.
to sing his own songs and do his own thing, just like Troy Bolton in High School Musical.
Oh, here we go. Here we
There's your
go.
pop reference.
That's something I understand.
Yep, you're welcome. Got you, man.
Thank you.
Some people do say Troy is the real villain of the franchise, taking everything from Sharknado.
I got so pissed watching those movies, by the way. His dad is basketball coach at a public school, and they
Yes.
live in like a mansion. It's like, what does your mother do, Troy? Like,
well, I mean, it's in Albuquerque. I don't know how expensive real estate is in Albuquerque.
no, but it's a big house. He has his own.
Yeah.
And what does Gabriella's?
Her mom's like a single mom.
Her mom's
She's
a
gotta be an
single mom.
executive or something.
Yeah.
And she has a
Gotta-
balcony.
They gotta be
Because
like
she has a
abusing the
balcony.
system of capitalism for their own ends. Like
Yes.
they're like, oh, but Sharpay and Ryan are the rich kids. It's like, no, you petty assholes. You're the
Yeah,
rich
what does
kids
their house
too.
look like?
Yeah, they live in the White House. Yeah,
They live in
Yeah, it's
Rivendell.
like, oh, they're only rich by comparison because while your parents are millionaires, their parents own Mars. Like, I don't know what you're complaining about.
yeah.
Anyway, Melkor is Troy Bolton.
Yeah, second time High School Musical has come up in Lord of the Rings because we said Frodo had to go his Gabriella Montez era on his own way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an excellent take. I need to think
Don't-
about that one.
Don't encourage this.
So some spirits choose to enter the world, or Arda as they call it. And so you got like the Valar, who are the big ones. They're like the lowercase gods, as opposed to big G, Iluvatar. And then you have the Maiar, who are kind of like the angel spirits. And like the wizards, like Saruman and Gandalf are Maiar. So the Valar there's 14 of them. There's Manwë, he's lord of the heavens and the wind. He's kind of like the Jupiter or the Odin, and he sees everything, and he made the eagles, and he's like the leader. And then we have
Like
fellow,
he's like Melkor's brother as well, technically.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, giving very
Have that family tension.
Set and Osiris in Gods of Egypt.
Oh yeah, another reference I understand.
Are
get
you-
it.
yeah, I think you-
totally understand.
Oh, so you are the two people who watched that movie.
Yeah.
The only two people.
The
in
only
world,
two.
yeah.
Because the other
Listen,
person on the
I watched
podcast
it.
worked on the movie.
Yes, and I have probably seen that movie like 4 or 5 times. It's fantastically bad.
Oh my god. Well, put that on the list, Tori.
And so fellow Vardistan in the house.
My
we
girl.
We have Varda. She's the Lady of Light, and she kindled the stars. She creates kind of all light, and the forces of evil hate her because she rejected Melkor from the beginning. She always called him out on his shit.
You, what's up?
Yeah, he can't stand her. An evil man hates a woman calling him out.
Wow,
Classic.
shocker.
She hears, like, so if Manwë like kind of sees everything, she hears everything. So anyone who cries out to her, she hears them. So she's kind of like Frigg, Odin's wife, meets like the Virgin Mary, or like Kuan Yin, like the Bodhisattva of Mercy, who like hears all the cries of the world. Like she's like your ally. So when
Ally.
she made ally, speak Valentina. So when she made the stars, the elves were born. So they call her Elbereth, and they like worship her. They like sing about her in the books. And in
As
the
they
book,
should.
yeah, because she's the best. And in the book, they call out to her when they use like the vial that Galadriel gave.
Yeah.
And
They
she loves that.
use her other name, Elbereth, which I think means star kindler.
Yeah. In the musical, they sing that too.
Mhm. Oh,
Isn't
the musical.
musical a shame.
Yeah, Tori.
We'll get there.
Tori, like just this past week, found out like there was a musical Lord of the
I
Rings.
love the fact that it exists because it's such a bad idea.
It is, but like the music slaps.
This-
Like I
Tolkien
enjoy the
just
music.
loves music
Well,
so much, and
some
there's
of
so
the
many
music.
songs. I'm
So-
like, how has it not been done?
Well, the songs that
Turns out it
slap
has been done.
and then there's songs that's just like elvish chanting, and you're like, you needed a little more in like a
Yeah, come
language
on.
people got,
Mhm.
like just make it jump full in the musical. Like I want tap dancing Saruman, and so
Truly make him Saruman of many colors by just
Yes.
making him the gayest wizard alive.
I mean that's
He deserves.
what we said. Saruman and Gandalf, both gay, never dated. Saruman's bitter about it. That's what I was thinking.
But they're both catty as hell.
Yeah.
Checks out.
Manwë and Varda have planetoids named after them, IRL in real life.
Yes.
Yeah. What an impact.
Nerds.
Yeah, I was gonna say a bunch of nerds.
It's NASA. None of those guys got laid in high school. Like they were all distracted.
Yep. Next we have Olmo. He's Lord of the Water and the Seas. He loves the elves and he likes to travel through all the water. He's a bachelor. He's kind of like Poseidon.
Surfer bro.
He's a surfer bro.
SoCal blonde hair. He's just vibing.
I love this. I mean, this needs to go in Rivendell, the CW version of Lord of the Rings.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I hate.
It's a
oh,
thing
I would watch the
that's
shit out of that.
Honestly, I think the more I think of it, the more I'm like, okay, that would like kind of slap. Like
it would though.
I'm gonna give you some context. So when Cullen first told me about Riverdale, I didn't know anything about like Archie or whatever, and I thought it was a CW show about Rivendell. So now I want it to happen. Now that we talked about it,
Should have been. It should have been.
the bear he gets attacked by his Bjorn. Yeah.
Much like Riverdale, has only very loose connections to the source material.
Exactly. I love it. So he's like Poseidon meets like Njord, like this Norse sea god, because the Norse sea god was way more chill. And he has these Mire friends, Ose, who makes storms, kind of like this Norse god Aegir, who made the storms. And we have Union, who calms the waters and protects sailors, kind of like Aphrodite or the Virgin Mary. So those are, we're not going to touch on most of the Mire, but like those two, and we'll have one other.
Uinen.
See, we got the fact checkers.
Yeah, Manwe, Varda, Almo, and then Ose and Uinen. Let me see if I can remember them all, actually.
I know the Valar are the one thing I like know. I love a pantheon.
Yeah.
So they're like in there.
Love a good pantheon.
Yeah. And this is a pretty solid one. It has some interesting picks. So we have Mandos. He keeps the halls of the dead. So when elves die, they go to this hall in the west that he's in charge of, whereas humans go like beyond the world. No one knows what happens to them. So he keeps the halls. He's very Hades, very Osiris. He speaks like your doom or your fate. Like what if he says it, like it's happening.
Yeah, he can, like, of all the Valar, he was granted like the foresight, like the most clear foresight of what's going to happen. And another fun thing about the elves is that the halls of the dead isn't exactly like the halls of the dead. It's more like a respawn area where if an elf gets killed, they basically go back there, but then like in enough time they basically regenerate a new body and then just live in the west, unless you are specifically being punished, and then it's your prison basically.
Yeah. He has a wife, Vare. She weaves tapestries kind of depicting everything that's happened. As she's not quite like the Fates, like making the fate, but she's like keeping track of it all, which I kind of
like
appreciate.
A little history book.
An
In
archivist.
tapestry.
Because she's
It's
an
a gorgeous
artist.
idea. Yeah.
She's artsy.
We have the other bachelor of the bachelorette of the Valar, Nina the Weeper. So she's like this kind of goddess of like sorrow and compassion. She makes me think of like Our Lady of Sorrows in Catholicism, or even like the goddess Freya, who wept tears of gold, or Nephthys from Egyptian mythology, like mourning, but also like the healing that comes from grieving.
It's so beautiful.
That's a great pick. It's a great pick for this pantheon. Gandalf trained under her.
Oh.
That's why he's great. And she was the one who always felt bad for Melkor and was like, he can change. And Varda was like, girl, no.
No.
Rethink that one.
We have Eule. He's the smith, kind of like Vulcan or Hephaestus.
Aule,
see. He ruled the mountains and like gems and stuff. He made the dwarves because he was like lonely and he wanted his own people, but like Iluvatar was like, hey, like I picked the people. They're the elves and men. And he was gonna destroy them. And then the dwarves were like, no. And then he was like, I feel bad. So he's like, they can exist, but you have to wait for the elves and then they'll wake up. Saruman trained under him.
Yes.
So
and Sauron.
Oh yeah, Sauron, yeah. So he's probably not the best boss.
He's got a bunch of bad luck because it's always his Maiar that end up turning to evil. And It's because
at what point is it management though?
Yeah.
Trickle down.
Well, it's because technically he is the most like Melkor in that they both want to create something, but Melkor wants to create stuff to rule over it, while Aule just wants to create it to create it. Like,
yeah,
he's all about the journey and not the destination.
yeah.
Beautiful said.
We got his wife Yavanna. She's kind of goddess of the earth, nature, and fertility. Very like the Gaia or Demeter Ceres, who we talked about last week, defending those trees. She made most of the plants and animals, and she just loves them, and she loves the forests. She was worried that everyone, especially the dwarves, would like destroy everything of hers. So she was kind of behind like the ends happening, because she's like, I need people to like watch out for the trees. Which like, so she probably
That was
also
a
made
good point.
the Lorax, yeah.
Then I love when she tells Aule, she's like, you better look out. The trees are now going to be protected. And Aule's response is just he keeps working and goes, still, they're going to need wood. He's just like, we're still going to chop down trees.
Radagast trained under her,
Makes sense.
as well as Melian, who we talked, I might have mentioned before, who's kind of like this nymph-like figure who loved birds. And she married an elf and used magic to preserve her kingdom so no bad guys could enter. And she trained Galadriel. And that's how Galadriel does that with Lothlorien. And I can't remember, I forgot to look this up, if Celeborn, who Kate and Maddie apparently hate because he's so boring, is descended from Melian.
He's not, but he is a kinsman of Melian's husband, Thingol.
Okay.
Technically, like Aragorn, Arwen, Elrond, they're descended from Melian.
Yeah. We love nymph representation here. That's a
Aragorn's got 0.001% nymph blood in him. That's why he looks so good when he enters through the doors in Helm's Deep. That's his nymph moment.
Yeah. That's what puts him over the edge and makes him a good king. It's that nymph energy.
It's that 0.001% nymph blood. Where everyone subtly, like straight or not, goes, am I attracted to him?
Yes.
Orome, Lord of the Forests. He loved dogs, horses, hunting, kind of like I think we mentioned the Norse god Uller at one point, or Lu, Cahulan's father in Celtic mythology. Apollo, another archer god. He's like Apollo but green, like
he's more like Artemis in that regard.
He's more like Artemis, yeah.
Where he's all about the wild creatures and then also hunting.
But Nessa is also kind of an Artemis, his sister, right? Yeah. So
the
Nessa's deer the more association.
It's like if Apollo and Artemis, their attitudes got flipped, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
ooh.
Nessa's more the bright and cheery, like goddess of like she's about meadows and like flowers, isn't she?
Dancing.
Isn't her big thing dancing? Yeah, she's just she's like, oh, I'm Valar of the sea. I'm Valar of the stars. I am Lord of the Dance.
Maybe that's me.
Yeah.
Fuck with her.
Could be.
The blue wizards were trained under Orome, and Orome was the first one to find the elves. Then his wife is Vanna, Yavanna's sister. She's the goddess of like youth, spring, flowers, birdsong. So kind of like the goddess Easter or Flora or Persephone, or even Idun, the Norse goddess of youth who had the golden apples. Loki tricked and kidnapped her. I'll never forgive him for it.
By this point,
sorry, Tom.
By this point, the female presenting Valar are becoming a bit less and less crucial to the management of the world. It's like, okay, we got the stars and the earth. You can have flowers.
Birdsong.
But I think that's important, and I have a headcanon about a couple
all right.
Yeah. We got Irmo, or called Lorien. He's the god of dreams and spirits. He had a magic garden. Kind of Thoth, from Egyptian, or Hermes, the god of dreams. And his wife,
Mandos's brother, I believe.
Yes, they're brothers. They're
twins.
His wife is Esti, but not the one from the Taylor Swift song. She's a goddess of peace and healing, kind of like Isis. She like calms people, heals them. Then we have Tulkas. He's the wrestler who came specifically to fight Melkor. So he's like the Thor or Hercules. Like he's the muscle. And then his
he doesn't
wife
use weapons. He's got his fists.
got his fists. Hammer? No, thank you.
I think it's like he rejoices in like wrestling and stuff like that. He's like
that guy.
We have those guns.
He's that guy who's always like, "Come on,
Let's
fight
wrestle."
me." It's like, I don't
Like-
want to fight you, dude. It's like, nah, come on, you gotta.
And then his wife is Nessa, the dancer who her canon role is go girl, give us nothing, is what I wrote, because all we have, like, Vanna does a couple things and she has like a big area. She loves green meadows and deer.
Okay, you know what? Let her live.
Let her live.
She
But
loves
this is
Michigan.
Vibing.
This is my headcanon. I think so. All of the big ones are like doing all this shit with the elves and stuff. And like Vanna and Nessa are like, I think we just need like chiller people, and they
Just
make
to
the
round it out.
hobbits. Yeah,
Well, Vanna, like, it sounds like she only got hired because of her sister. Like, they're like, "Oh, you're another Earth goddess, aren't you?" She's like, "Yeah, totally."
but she puts the finishing touches. But yeah, they're
Yeah.
like, we need people who just want to chill and they love green meadows and flowers and deer. Yeah, and they're like, we just need people who are chill with that. So and
balance.
yeah, and they're like, because like these other people are getting corrupted, and you need people who are like, don't have time for that.
Yeah,
Don't have time for
hippies.
corruption.
Yeah.
No time for corruption. I'm dancing.
Yeah, that's what they did. I think the hobbits are Nessa and Vanna. I think they make, because the hobbits canonically don't really have a specific origin, I think. Or there's like they're descended from men, sort of.
Oddly enough, it's because they evolved from men. Creationist J.R.R. Tolkien basically went, no, hobbits evolved from men. They're still human. They just
No.
are genetically short.
Death of the author, baby. That's not a good enough answer. I think
Magic
Go
enough
Girl
for
Give
me.
Us Nothing did it. She gave us a lot. She's just humble. Just busy dancing. So then we got the big bad. So Melkor, or Morgoth, the great enemy. He was kind of associated with cold and darkness, did not vibe with Varda. He created evil, destroyed shit. He made the orcs from either corrupting elves or from slime energy, depending on what version. And he maybe made trolls from Ents. I've heard that somewhere. And he also is responsible for dragons. And then Sauron was like,
Sorry, my brain cut that off and was like, he's also responsible for drag. And I was like, good for him.
at least give us one good thing.
Yeah.
Contribute a little.
Yeah. Maybe it's all worth it. Maybe the corruption was worth it for the drag.
Sauron was his like lieutenant, who was a Maiar. He also, there's like a werewolf guy and a vampire princess that worked for him.
Yes.
Left turns, you never hear about them again.
Wethil is the vampire woman.
Yeah. And Balrog's worked for him, their Maiar. And then I heard this, but I don't know if it's confirmed, if Ungoliant, this evil spider of darkness, who's the ancestor of Shelob and the other big spiders, was also a Maiar on his team.
She was just a spirit, I think. Like, Tolkien's like, yeah, we don't even know where she came from. Like, she just kind of came from the darkness.
Yeah, she just got in there. Yeah, so okay, very briefly summarizing the history of Middle Earth. So they make the world, the Valar move there, they have some initial drama with Melkor, so they're like, we're moving west. We're going to California. They they move to Aman or Valinor, Undying Lands, like Paradise, and Yavanna makes these two trees that Varda lights up, and they are like the sun and the moon basically, but not, and they only light the west. And then everything else is left for Melkor to do whatever he wants, except like Orome and Olmo and Yavanna like check on it sometimes. But when Varda makes the stars, the elves wake up. So they're like, oh, he's gonna ruin the elves. So they capture Melkor, imprison him, and are like, elves, come west. So you kind of get three basic groups. You get the Vanyar, who like went west first, stayed west, like the goody two shoes ones. You have the Noldor, who are like the problem middle child, who like kind of like came and left and like caused a lot of drama. And then the Teleri are like
the Kardashians of the elves.
They are the Kardashians of the elves.
Mhm.
The Teleri are like kind of the chill elves. So
They're the free spirits. They're the younger free spirit.
Yeah, they're just like vibing. They like traveled slow. A lot of them like never quite made it, and they kind of became like the Sindar. And so most of the elves we meet in Lord of the Rings are either Noldor or Sindar. And so now we get to the Silmarils, which the Silmarillion is named after. So this guy named Fëanor made
freaking Fëanor. Sorry, I'm contracted to say that every time he's mentioned.
He makes these jewels called the Silmarils, and they contain the light of the trees. He also kind of creeped on Galadriel, and he was the one that like wanted her hair, and that's why it's such a big deal.
Just weird because he's her uncle.
Yeah. So like major loser. Whatever major loser, as I would say in Camp Rock. I think that's what Galadriel said to him.
We say he's a loser, but like Tolkien, when he's writing, he's like, he's the most beautiful and most powerful of all the elves. It's like,
but Tolkien, what did he do with that?
You really want us to like your OC here, aren't
you? So meanwhile, Melkor was allowed to be free because he like, I'm changed. And so while he did that, he teamed up with the big spire Ungoliant. They destroyed the trees by like vomiting darkness all over them.
Rude.
And they stole the Silmarils, fled to Middle Earth. So Fëanor like got the Noldor together and was like, we're gonna swear vengeance and return to Middle Earth to fight him. And then they killed other elves to steal their ships to do it. That's the first time there's ever elf on elf crime.
Just for some freaking duels.
Yeah, and
I hate it.
Galadriel was part of the people that left, but she very specifically did not participate in that. Later, though, she like leaves it out when she's explaining what happened to other people. So a little complicit, but she was like, yeah, no, I'm not killing people.
But then again, her whole purpose for leaving Valinor was because she's like, I want to be queen of my own land. It's like, okay, colonizer. Like,
yeah, kind of. And she did get that.
Yeah.
So elves move to Middle Earth. Meanwhile, the Valar, who are mad, make the sun and the moon from the remaining leaves, and they awaken humanity. Men and elves do a bunch of shit. They fight Morgoth, this human Baron and this elf Luthien. Fall in love. They humiliate Sauron and Morgoth through a series of epic feats and musical numbers and like kind of pranks. And they humiliate them both and become the first human elf union. Dog is involved, the talking dog. Yeah.
I'm telling you, Baron and Luthien would be a good musical. It has a talking dog. It has all these.
It could be a Disney movie.
You know what it really is? It's just Twilight. It's Edward and Bella and Jacob as the dog.
Yeah, wow. Okay, that does make sense. And one of them's very sparkly.
Yeah. And it's forbidden romance because they're not of the same species.
They're the first ones to do it, yeah. And so, okay, so then this guy Rivendell, the half-elven, he's not their descendant, but he's dating their descendant. And she gives him the Silmaril that they stole from Morgoth to get him to help him like go across the sea and ask the Valar, like, please defeat Morgoth. So the Valar are like, okay. They make him a star. That's what the vial is.
I'm a star.
I'm a star. No, I'm a star. So then they defeat Morgoth in a war, but it's kind of a big deal because they're all gods. So it sinks the part of Middle Earth where everything that's been happening is. So that's not even on the map by the time we get to Lord of the Rings. That sinks. And they also make Numenor, which is kind of Atlantis. So now we're kind of at the storylines that the TV show Rings of Power is vastly compressing for good reason. But and I haven't even finished it, but I do side with that adaptational choice. Numenor is like this paradise for special good humans who are the Dunedain. Like Aragorn is very specifically one of them. Sauron, meanwhile, tricks the elves into making the Rings of Power. He's kind of defeated. The elves hide their rings. The dwarves were too stubborn to be corrupted by their rings, but humans did, and then that's how we get the Nazgul. Sauron is kidnapped by the Numenorians, taken in chains, but he's a sweet talker. He wins their favor, convinces them to do a little human sacrifice and just like be bad. And then he eventually builds up to like, let's invade the Undying Lands and fight the Valar.
Let's fight God. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Did not go well. Iluvatar, the big
Spoiler alert.
the big god who last time he interacted was when he was mad at the dwarfs being made. So does not get involved a lot. Was so mad. He got involved in this used to be a flat earth. He's like, it's round now. I'm so mad. He sinks their fleet. He makes the Undying Lands like their own little like pocket dimension across, like you have to only sail to with elven boats. And he sinks Numenor. But some of them escape, especially good ones, and they go to Middle Earth and they found the twin kingdoms of Gondor and Arnor. Sauron goes back to Mordor, tries to take over the world. We get the last alliance of men and elves from the beginning of the movie. Ring is lost. Arnor slowly falls. Gondor kind of goes to shit. Wizards arrive, and then this old elf called Círdan, or I think so.
Círdan.
Círdan, yeah. He runs the Grey Havens. He has one of the rings. He gives it to Gandalf, and that's like the ring that like inspires people. That's like the Pinterest quote ring, you know. And then the other ring Galadriel has, it's used to like preserve things, and that's how she makes Lothlorien so pretty. No evil can enter there. Elrond, we know even less about his ring that he got from the last High King. Maybe healing, maybe water horses, you know.
Healing makes sense. And also like each ring I feel for the elves has an element of preservation. It's just a different type of preservation. Yeah. So like Galadriel's Lothlorien's all gold and beautiful, while Rivendell's more like autumn. It's like not as grand as it might have been in like the high summer days, but it's still pretty nice.
Yeah, look at all these waterfalls.
Yeah, look at that.
Waterfalls.
I want to live there.
Me too.
Okay, Bilbo.
Let's go.
And then our last kind of bit of lore, because we're kind of at Lord of the Rings, is Legolas mentions to Gimli in the movie, like war is probably coming for your kin too. And that's because there are other battles going on. So Dol Guldur, which is Sauron's fortress in Mirkwood that we see in the Hobbit movies, gross. They attack the Wood Elves, like Legolas's kingdom, and they also try to attack Lothlorien 3 separate times, but Galadriel is so strong that like it would only ever fall if Sauron himself showed up. And so also the Easterlings that we see marching the Black Gate in the last movie, they besiege Erebor and Dale, the places from the Hobbit, and the dwarves and the humans there. And then that all fails. Galadriel, Celeborn, and Thranduil, Legolas's dad, retaliate, and they destroy Dol Guldur completely. And Galadriel makes sure each pit is exposed to the sun. She's like, I'm tearing every brick down. Like,
oof.
Yeah, like no spiders are coming out of the darkness here, like into the light. So that's a brief history of Middle Earth.
Well
Very
done.
Brief. It's only about half an hour.
Yeah,
I applaud. You did that very succinctly. When there's a lot of history built into. I mean,
yeah,
we have a whole podcast.
Yeah, just check out the Sillymarillion if you want to know
Yeah.
about Gondolin. I remember that it falls. Check it out.
It does.
So now we finally get to our movie, Return of the King.
Return of the King.
All right. So we're gonna do like storyline chunk, because I like kind of split them up by storylines, but it's like doesn't really work if you just go one by one. So it's like we'll do a chunk of one. So we're not going to go in exact chronological order because my brain would break trying to remember in which exact order. Yeah.
Fair. You mean you can't remember all the events of a 4.5-hour movie? Come on.
Scene by scene breakdown.
I can barely remember the names.
Yeah, so let's start with Sam and Frodo, our alleged A plot.
Alleged.
That's honestly really great, because I think we talked about it last episode too, that we're like, I mean, this whole battle kind of really takes precedent, but Sam and Frodo are doing stuff, and this happens at the same time. Like, They're doing the thing.
Yeah. I do like they kind of find a way to make the war connect to their storyline at the end.
Yes.
Which I don't think I ever got until I was older. Like as a kid, I was just kind of like, oh, more fighting.
Oh, more fighting.
So we open with Smeagol taking the ring because his friend finds it and he straight up murders his little bestie because it's his birthday.
That scene was so shocking to me, like seeing it the first time, like just that corruption arc and how immediate it was.
Yeah, it's not even a corruption arc, it's just corruption.
It's just corruption. You're right.
There is no arc. It's just
so I think what we can gather is that like he sucked from like day one. Like this wasn't like
he was just a bad person, you know?
Yeah, he wanted to kill his friend and the ring was like, just do it now. He's like, okay.
Here's the reason.
Yeah. So he just murders him and he slowly turns into the little freaky little shit he is. I was wondering as I was watching this because I was like, I think I used to feel more bad for Gollum. Did Glee destroy my ability to have empathy?
To have empathy in general, yeah.
Because I'm like, I used to be like, there's good and bad, and some of them like, they're evil, fuck them up. Like, yeah.
I'm a Gollum sympathizer. I feel like just the way they portray him in like him fighting against himself. I feel bad for him. I feel like he could have lived a nice little hobbit life without the ring. My wife, however, hates Gollum, so this is a constant battle in this household.
I feel like this watch, I get what Frodo's doing with Gollum a lot more. A little more in the Two Towers. I think this one is where you can see that he's like out of his mind,
Yeah, my thing was like, I'm just like, where are all the therapists?
This therapist in Middle
person, this being, I don't even know what he is anymore. He needs some help.
Yeah.
It's like Frodo's entire arc with trusting Gollum and reaching out is because he's well aware that there's a very real possibility that could be him at some point.
He's like, for sure. Yikes, I could be wearing a loincloth.
And be an even skinnier twink.
Yeah.
And then he's just, it's like like meme of like asking your significant other, would you love me if I was a worm? But it's like Frodo like looking at Sam, would you still love me if I was Gollum? And it's just like,
I'm going
what
to
the
ask
fuck, Mr.
Steph
Frodo?
That when they get home. Steph's asked me all the time if I would love them if they were a worm, and I'm gonna reverse it and say, would you love me if I was Gollum?
Yes.
So they're low on food. Sam is still rationing for the return journey.
He's inspiring the hope. He's like, we need some for the return home.
Sam really is the hope of this whole movie.
Yeah. But Gollum is like plotting their demise with himself in the pool. He's like, they'll be dead. And Sam hears it and is like, excuse me? And they're like fighting.
Yeah, he's having his Mulan moment and Sam wakes up.
That's the Gollum song in the musical is like very painful to listen to. It is a hard skip. Because he's like screaming and shrieking and stuff. Like, yeah.
Will his reflection show who he is inside?
I think it already does. Yikes.
And so Sam's like, he's gonna kill us, and Frodo's like, no, because Gollum's like, no, I didn't say that. And he's all like, I need to get rid of Sam. And then at some point, Gollum kind of tells Frodo, like, Sam's gonna ask for it. Like, he wants the ring. Because he's like planting those little manipulative seeds.
Yeah. Is it this isn't where he like gets rid of the food, right? That's later.
That's later.
Yeah.
I almost said it's a very
ridiculously smart.
He's very smart. He's a little creepy little addict. He's Gretchen Wieners.
Yeah. Where does he keep his secrets? In his loincloth?
No, his ears. His ears are very big.
Yeah. There you go.
Cracked that case.
And so they go by Minas Morgul. The army marches past as they're trying to sneak up the stair, which is like a cliff. And then meanwhile, as they're climbing up, Gollum at night throws away all the food. He like puts some crumbs on Sam's jacket and he throws it all off the side of the cliff. And then Sam is looking for the food in the morning and he's like, there's no food. And
Gollum does his best high school drama club.
Oh, it's like, so. Oh,
where'd it go? Oh, look at this. He like dusts the crumbs that he like planted
he must
on.
Have done it.
He is the cop pulling Sam over and like, oh, what's this? Huh? What's this? What are these breadcrumbs, huh?
Yeah, he planted the weed in that locker. Yeah.
Just like in Glee.
Just like Will is Gollum. His addiction is Glee Club.
Thank God Matthew Morrison was not in a loincloth. Although he did strip down.
He did in Rocky Horror Glacier. Yeah.
Yep. In the sparkly loincloth, you would say.
I delightfully forgot about that. Thank you. Maybe that's the scene that turned me gay. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
So they're Sam's like, I didn't do it, and Gollum's like, no, he stuffs his face with it. He's a little fatty, fat phobic.
Oh God, he is a mean girl. He is a mean girl.
You're a mean girl.
You're a mean freak, Gollum, a mean little hobbit thing. And so Sam's like, Frodo, you're just stressed. Like maybe I could bear it, And Frodo's
Share
like,
the load.
Share the load. And Frodo's like, the fuck? He's like, you need to go home, which is basically
Gollum
like
right about you.
It's basically saying like, go die. Like
so rude.
Essentially,
so
there's no food, and like he has to find his way back all by himself.
It isn't as harsh necessarily because he's like, you can't protect me from yourself, Sam. And when in reality, okay, this never happens in the books. I'm just pointing that out. This like schism between the two never happens in the books because Book Frodo would never be so stupid as to place his trust in this gangly meth addict over his like best friend and like companion for life.
Well, that's something that bothered me in this movie, and also in the last movie too. Is like he's so like not blind to it, but he willingly goes along. Yeah. But I guess like this movie is kind of showing us that like he's also losing it. Like you see like the scars around his neck from holding the neck, from holding the necklace, and just like he's been through it. Like they've been doing this a long time, and so it's like you see it getting to him. So like I understand that, but I'm also like, but I still don't think Frodo would do this. That doesn't make any sense.
If I
look at Gollum, for fuck's sake.
If I hadn't showered for like 5 months, who knows what choices I'd be making.
You know what? That's actually a good point.
Like
would I be giving up my best friend?
Hannah.
I'd sell my best friend for a shower.
Gollum's not even offering that. Yeah, and Gollum is sitting there like doing he's like every like smug rich kid or like he's mean girl who like lies and is like, gotcha, bitch.
He waits till like Frodo looks away and then he just looks at Sam. He's just like just the most catty look.
And so he takes him up to the cave. Gollum is like sneaking off, and then Frodo gets caught in all these webs. He was not told anything about webs. And Gollum does the little fly. Why does he cry? Soon he'll be eaten.
And he's not even a good lyricist.
Gollum's here.
Yeah, Gollum. My other impression.
Guess it's not us. It's Gollum.
Oh my gosh, Andy Serkis, welcome.
Wow.
Welcome,
surprise guest.
So he's like, because he loses sting, because first he's like slashing all the webs, but there's so many, and then so we see, and he uses the vial to scare away Shelob. He like points the light at this big ass spider. And but eventually he gets caught up, and then he like manages to get out, and he knocks Gollum down a chasm because Gollum's trying to like kill him, and he's like, you promised on the precious, and he's like, I lied. And he's like,
get over it, bitch, I lied.
Yeah.
He's like, I have to destroy it for both of us, and he's like, no, and then but Frodo pushes him down this cliff, so it's like he's dead, but we didn't see the body.
No one's truly dead till you see the body. We've all seen Riverdale.
Yep.
No,
And-
we have not all seen Riverdale.
Pretty Little Liars.
Nope.
Nope.
Oh, I feel like I've seen it because there are scenes my husband will quote verbatim.
Oh gosh.
So so Frodo almost gets away. He like falls and he has this flash where he's like in Lothlorien and Galadriel's like, this is your task. Like only you can do it. And she helps him
Get your ass up.
She's nobody wants to work anymore. And she's a Noldor. No.
Nobody wants to take the ring to Mount Doom anymore. It's really, really sad.
Yeah, and we're not even paying him anything. Like, why is that? Why wouldn't he want to do that?
This is a song in the musical. Not a tap number, unfortunately, but it's this big epic song. And I just wanted to acknowledge that because she has all the best songs in the musical. But she helps him up, and but like meanwhile, Sam sees the crumbs. He like sees all the bread and is like, okay, I can't just leave Frodo. Like Gollum obviously is setting him up. And then Frodo gets stung up by Shelob, and she's like wrapping him up super fast. And then Sam shows up and he uses Sting and Galadriel's vial to like fight and ultimately drive Shelob away. And I'm summarizing that very quickly, but it's a very good action scene.
Yeah.
Very
Sam is so
scene.
badass in that.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the fortitude of hobbits, first off, in being able to fight a giant spider, but also fighting the like temptation to drink whatever water is in that file.
Yeah.
I look at it, I'm like, ooh, that looks so crisp. That
Yeah.
looks so
Yeah,
refreshing.
That's
That's got to be like
you would've
McDonald's
left-
Sprite in there or something.
That's like
You would have just
McDonald's
left Frodo to
Sprite,
die because you drink
Baja
it.
Blast for me. It tastes different for everyone who drinks it.
Blue Frost Gatorade.
That's why they had to give it to Frodo. If they gave it to Pippin, he would have popped that cork and just downed it in one shot.
Yes, Pippin would have.
I'm Pippin. So again though, like Sam is just motivated by like pure love. Like he's a gardener. He's no combat training. And he like fights off this giant spider. And so he's like, Frodo, like no. And then orcs are approaching. The sword glows blue. He hides, and they're like, oh, he's not dead yet. She just like stings him, and then they go limp. But he's gonna wish he was never been born because we're gonna go torture him.
Yeah.
Classic.
And Sam's like, yo, I'm so stupid. I'm like, yeah, a little bit, but it's okay.
Samwise, you fool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Again, if I was A, that emotional, and B, had not showered.
I get it.
Yeah. So we're gonna put a pin in that plot. And
Meanwhile,
Back at the ranch.
yeah, kind of, yeah. The horse girls, the rest of the crew, they are going to Isengard. They see Merry and Pippin smoking and eating. And Gimli's like, we're chasing you across the world and you're just eating and smoking. And they're like, yeah, the salted pork's really good. And he's like, oh.
yes, I would.
And then Treebeard is like, yeah, Saruman's in this tower. And Saruman is like, let's have peace, Theoden. And Theoden is like, you murdered kids. Like, we're not friends. That's a boundary. He's setting boundaries.
Good for him.
So there is at least one therapist, and he's learned from his therapist boundaries.
Yeah. In between like Helm's Deep, Edoras and Helm's Deep, he had a quick therapy session. Yeah.
Better help.
Better help. So Gandalf is like, give us the tea. Like, what Sauron's up to. Like, tell us. And he's like, Sauron's like, you're all gonna die. And it's because you listened to Gandalf. Like, what words of comfort did you give the halfling before you sent him to his doom? Like, he's playing you all. So because Saruman's magic is all like lies and deception. And he also
convince you.
He also just blasts fire at Gandalf too.
Yeah.
And
that's not very good.
Yeah, it doesn't work. And Gandalf is like, you canceled. And he breaks the staff. cancel culture alive and well in Middle-earth. Murder some kids, you get canceled.
Yeah.
And so Theoden is like, hey, Grima, come down. You are a man of Rohan. And Saruman is like, Rohan is trash. Like, just drunk people and dogs and shit and beer. And he like slaps Grima. And Grima is like, I've had enough of this guy. And he just stabs him. And they're like, we need his info. So Legolas shoots Grima. But then Saruman falls down and impales himself on this like spiky wheel that starts turning, and Treebeard is like, best line. He's like, the filth of Saruman is washing away.
Like, they just dunk his
just
body
goes
in the water.
into the water.
It's like
boots still like hanging above just a bit.
Like wash away garbage.
Poetry.
And he drops his little crystal ball, his little palantir. And Pippin is like, ooh, I haven't seen trouble that I couldn't caught. Like, there's no opportunity for a problem that Pippin won't pursue.
Pippin's just like, I see a chance for shenanigans. And it's just
and Gandalf was like, okay, give that to me. Like, obviously do not trust. Remember when you knocked that dead body down a well in Moria and we almost all died? Which there's some interesting dynamics going on with their, teacher problem child relationship. The Rohan people, they're partying. Éowyn is pining after Aragorn again. Theoden is like, I ship it. He's a good man. Gimli and Legolas have a drinking game. Gimli's burping, talking about hairy women. And Mr. Katy Perry is just like, I feel a tingle.
Is that alcohol's effects?
Yeah.
He must be losing it a little bit.
So, okay, here's the thing I wonder. So he has his like party outfit, right? And I'm always, because he wears it, I think in Lothlorien maybe, but definitely here. And I'm like, so he on this whole quest has had a spare outfit packed for formal occasions.
You never know.
Look at him. Of course he does.
And he
If
like
anyone
folds
does,
it
it's him.
like precision. Yeah, he's like, you will not catch me wearing human clothes at a party.
This is a black tie event. I am wearing a black tie.
Yeah, he's stepped into an Abercrombie and is like, I'm done with human fashion. At one point, Aragorn is like tucking Éowyn in, and I'm kind of like, dude, maybe this isn't the move. If you're trying to get her not interested.
Maybe being incredibly tender and gentle with her in this moment is not what you want to do to tell her you're not interested.
Yeah. Also, I guess she doesn't have a bedroom. She just sleeps in the hall.
Okay. All right. One of my biggest complaints. Aragorn wakes up and like everyone else is sleeping in this small room. People are sleeping on the floors.
Yeah.
And they're all like crammed in together.
It's like a slumber party.
She's on this like chaise lounge in the middle of this great hall, dramatically like leaning against it, like
she's begging to be covered up and tucked in.
Yeah.
That's her.
It's like, oh, I'm cold. Well, gosh, maybe you shouldn't be sleeping in the big drafty feasting hall, and maybe you should find, I don't know, a bedroom to sleep in.
This is your house where you live.
This is your house. You have a room.
I guess she was just so drunk and hungover. She was partying hard.
Found the closest couch.
Yeah.
How did you get here, Éowyn? I don't know. I was like fucked up.
I don't want too many vodka sodas. Well, also, so Éowyn has a dream about darkness falling, which
who
is
doesn't?
Yeah, everyone, because Legolas is also outside.
In these times, who doesn't have a dream of darkness?
He goes to see, everyone sees his boyfriend Legolas, and he's like, "There's some darkness on the way, like Mordor, stir in." And so Pippin,
and then Pippin calls Satan.
Mordor, yeah,
he has like
Pippin's
a direct phone call with Satan.
I really want to look at that ball. Like he's like, I just need to. And Mary's like, why?
I want to touch it.
He's like, I just got to. What I do love, one of my favorite recurring themes of this movie is how exhausted these characters are. Like I think Aragorn and Theoden have these shots where they're just like, oh fuck this. And I'm like, you know what? That's what I would be if I was living through it, because it's kind of what I am just watching it.
Yeah.
Like, just like
they're burnt
no.
out.
Yeah.
The burnout is real.
I also love how Pippin Indiana Joneses his way to get the Palantir. He's got like the jug and he does the switch with Gandalf, who sleeps with his eyes open, which is, not disturbing at all.
He's really into that really bad Taylor Swift song from the Hunger Games movie, Keep Your Eyes Open. Yeah.
What's back?
Yeah.
Didn't realize that existed.
Yeah. I was discussing with people today whether or not I considered Hunger Games a fantasy movie. I was going to say no.
It isn't. Interesting. It's sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Pippin looks at it and it's like burning him. He sees Gondor burning. Sauron is like staring at him and he's like convulsing. And then they all come in and they like throw water, I think, and they like grab it and it's like kicking in chaos. Some Rohan guy in the corner is like, I was just trying to sleep, man. Like, and so
it's 2 a.m. Will y'all shut up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pippin is like, baby, at 3 a.m. I must be lonely.
Well, I was just thinking of just the absolute horror of being a Rohirrim warrior. I have not gotten a decent night's sleep ever since the Battle of Helm's Deep, where we stayed up all night fighting. I have severe PTSD now. And I wake up in the middle of the night
to
this hobbit that we know holding up this fiery ball going, ah! It's like when, I don't know if you had fucked up friends like I did, but or like we'd have a sleepover and one of them would just randomly pretend to be possessed in the middle of the night to freak the rest of us out.
Oh my God.
Can't say my sleepovers were like that. No.
Well, I just had special friends, I guess.
Special friends. I mean,
sucked.
There'll be no evil greater than Mordor than a certain bathroom that Hannah and I know very well that never had. So
that bathroom is the Mountain Doom.
Gandalf is like, why you gotta be like this? Of all the inquisitive hobbits, just gotta keep doing shit. Took. And so, because he's like, okay, I believe Pippin, like he's an idiot, but he's not a liar. He didn't tell them anything about Frodo. But he did see that like Gondor is going to be attacked. And so he's like, we need to go to their aid. And Theoden was like, where was Gondor? They were when Saruman was fucking up our shit. Kind of a valid point. Glad he gets over it. And then Gandalf is like, I gotta go there I'm gonna take Pippin. And Pippin's like, well, where is Merry coming? And Merry's like, I have to stay. I have to stay. He thinks you have the ring. Do you realize that? Do you realize what you just did? And Pippin's like, no. And he's like, we've always been together. Like, we're Merry and Pippin. And it's like, not this time. And so Gandalf rides off and Merry is like, well, I was looked after him. And Aragorn's like, he says something I don't remember.
And Aragorn says, dialogue.
Says, did you know I have like 0.001% nymph blood?
I thought Mary's you looked like, mildly attractive. Well, also, it includes one of my favorite shots of another Rohirrim being inconvenienced by the Fellowship, where this one guy is just trying to get to the top of this watchtower to get to his fucking post. He's just starting his shift. And meanwhile, Merry shoves him aside, and then Aragorn shoves him again on the way back.
He's like, if I'm 1 minute late, they count me a full hour late for pay. So please.
I need to feed my family.
We lost our farm because Saruman burned it. I do kind of love one thing about these movies. In Helm's Deep, it makes more sense. But especially in Minas Tirith, they kind of act like every available man is in the army. They get the women and children up to the next level. But like, if you're just a carpenter, sorry, bruh, you're last. You're dead.
Welcome to the military, friend.
So, speaking of Gondor, Gandalf and Pippin, they're at Minas Tirith, the White City of Kings. They go to see Denethor, and Gandalf is like, boo, word.
This guy sucks. This guy sucked last episode too, last movie when he was in it.
Oh, because he was in, what was he in?
They did the flashback with
flashback to
Faramir.
Osgiliath.
Oh,
Boromir.
yeah. Yeah, because I'm like,
He
wait,
was
was he
the
in?
worst.
He's always sucks. He's always in a bathrobe.
Like, here's the thing. Clearly, he was a bad father. He's always in a bathroom. He was a bad father in that flashback. Could not have predicted that he becomes that bad of a father in this fucking movie. Okay.
Well, he's not tried to kill me yet, so I guess he can't be that bad.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh fuck. Okay.
So,
Daddy issues.
yeah. And so Gandalf is like, Pippin, don't say anything. He's like, don't say anything about Frodo the Ring or Boromir's death or Aragorn. Don't say anything.
Just don't say anything.
In fact,
Actually, just
it's
keep your
probably
mouth
best
shut.
if you just don't say anything at all.
Does not follow that. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. So Denethor is like crying over the horn, and he's like, "This isn't Susan's. My son is dead." And Gandalf is like, "Okay, but like Mordor's gonna like destroy
we
you.
can mourn Boromir another time, but we have shit to do.
Like they're gonna destroy the city. Like you need to summon Rohan." And Denethor is like, "I have spies. I know you're trying to supplant me. You're a liar." And Gandalf is like, "You're a steward. You're not the king." And he's like, "I won't bow to this ranger, this hillbilly." So he's holding on to his throne, which is literally a smaller throne in front of a bigger throne.
So embarrassing.
That he never leaves. When he eats, they have to bring a table in. Table that wasn't in the hall to begin with. They have to bring it through those doors and like pull it up to his seat because he won't. He's so scared of someone else sitting in his chair.
Don't touch my chair.
Metaphorically and physically.
And because no one wants to sit in his bathrobe chair.
Yeah.
He just wants to sit in his bathrobe and eat tomatoes in the most messy fashion possible.
Like
it's a cherry tomato, sir. Just put the entire thing in your mouth like a normal person.
Yeah. Don't let its
That's
blood
really-
squirt everywhere.
That's all I really know about Denethor is he's the tomato dude. Ask me anything else and I'm like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, he sucks. And so Pippin feels bad. He's like, Boromir died defending us. I pledge myself to your service. And Denethor is like, how did a little shit like you survive? And my son, Sean Bean, didn't. And he's like, he was shot with a bunch of arrows, okay?
Yeah. It's like it took a lot of arrows to take him down. And that did not ease this father's anger.
And how did you live and my son Sean Bean die? Oh, wait a second. It's Sean Bean.
Sean Bean. And
yeah, he doesn't like to live past the first section of anything.
Mm.
And Gandalf was kind of like, okay, Pippin, you literally went to go, because Merry meanwhile pledges his service to Theoden, who's a bit of a drama queen, but like ultimately like trying to do his best. But like Gandalf was like, you picked the worst guy. Like
You've had one job and that was to say nothing.
Yeah.
And what are you doing? Saying a whole lot of something.
Mm-hmm.
But I like how Gandalf is still kind of supportive of Pippin.
Yeah.
He's like, look, you've made a commitment. So see it through.
See it through.
Don't worry, I'll be here if you need me.
Yeah, but he's like, okay, you're taking some responsibility, you know?
Yeah.
Finally, he got a job.
He got a job. So
Gandalf can stop babysitting.
Gandalf is kind of explaining, okay, like the kings became really like focused on their heraldry and their tombs, and they stopped running, and eventually the kings kind of died out. Yeah, and Pippin's like, is there hope for Frodo? And Gandalf is like, there's always only kind of been like a fool's hope. Like this was a Hail Mary, you know, like the football team does it at Notre Dame, you know, where Rudy went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he went there.
So so he's like, okay, there might be a chance. Meanwhile, the orcs take over Osgiliath. They do like a sneak attack. Faramir and his men flee because they're like getting killed. They put up a good fight. You know, I think it's important that we see that they're like have all these plans and strategies and stuff, but it's just not working. The Nazgul come. Gandalf puts on his light up staff. And
mag light just
and he scares them away, the Nazgul, and they make it in. And Faramir sees Pippin and is like, what? And Gandalf was like, okay, so you've seen a hobbit before. And he's like, yeah, a few days ago, he's on his way to Mordor. And they're like, okay, good. Like, this is the first news they've had of Frodo since the breaking of the Fellowship.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
And I'm amused entirely because they're always like, oh, he took the path to Cirith Ungol. It's like, oh, what's up there? When Cirith Ungol in Elvish literally means pass of the spider. And so it's like, ooh, what
could
monster
it be?
could dwell up in the path of the spider? Perhaps a spider.
Oh my god.
Nah,
No, it's only
too
metaphorical.
It's an 8-legged orc.
Oh, gross. That sounds horrific.
Is the orc that looks like the Abercrombie and Fitch CEO, is he in this scene?
I think he's the leader.
Yeah, Liz last episode pointed that out, and then literally every time he came on screen I was like, oh my god, this is the man that doesn't want poor people to wear Abercrombie and Fitch. That's it.
That orc would have the
up.
same policy.
Is it you see him?
Is it the Ariana Grande orc?
No, that's Lurtz.
No.
This guy's named Gothmog, or no, that's a
I don't know, but if you
know.
just look up Abercrombie CEO, and it's
Oh
him.
god, yeah.
It is.
This man,
Mike Jeffries was his name.
he's just
I
hard
immediately
to look
know
at.
what orc you're talking about.
Yep. It's
Oops.
yeah.
That man's face is just plastic.
Like the orc. Latex. I'm allergic to latex, so I'd be allergic to
You can never
orcs.
be an orc.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Career opportunities. It's really hard for us afflicted with latex allergies. So meanwhile, the Witch King of Angmar is back. He's gonna end humanity. I love the name Witch King. I love this like gender non-conformist spooky name. Like he's not a warlock.
Slay
king.
Witch King.
Yeah.
Yeah. All genders simultaneously.
Yeah. He's a spirit, so
Makes sense.
yeah.
Well, he used to be a person.
Yeah, but we don't know the gender of that person.
No, true.
True. We they say kings, but as we know in the Tolkien legendarium, they tend to use the male as the default. So
Yeah.
yeah. And as a kid, I thought the Ringwraiths were girls. So
Ooh,
yeah.
I love that.
Queens.
Queen.
Because they shriek.
That was I'm like, oh, they shriek. They're girls.
Because they're very man, they're so shrill. They must be women. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I also thought the
Wearing cloaks. Yeah.
I thought the gatekeeper at Bree was a woman and a fairy. So yeah.
Lots of headcanons happening.
Yeah.
Cullen has
Lot
famously
to
said,
digest there.
Cullen has famously said on the first and second episode of the series that he tried to put female representation wherever he could find it.
We thank you for it, honestly.
Yeah. Honestly, I would be a ring wraith. I am very shrill.
Give me that ring.
I support you. Chase your dreams, Hannah.
Thank you. I want to ride one of those dragon things. It'd be great.
Yeah, where's the Lord of the Rings land at a theme park? There's the Nazgul ride.
I want it, but also I would never want it.
Yeah.
So Faramir is back. He's like, Pippin, you look great. And the Gondor stuff, those used to be mine. I used to spend a lot of time, like fighting dragons in my brain instead of, doing my homework. And this movie, I didn't quite catch it last movie, but like, okay, Faramir is really hot. And I know like we all have eyes for Aragorn, but I was
see
like,
your note here and I was like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah. Faramir, I'm like, because I don't think Aragorn's fun at parties. Here's the thing. I think he's fun. He's sexy.
He's a wallflower.
He's a wallflower. I think Faramir is quiet, but like you get a couple drinks in him. I think he's DDRing. He's having a good time. Like he's tipping the bartender as well. He's just he's hot. I'm like, if I were to date a Middle Earth person, at first I was like, okay, maybe Sam, but now I'm like, I don't know, maybe Faramir.
Interesting.
Hot take.
Yeah, I know
We
that
should have done our Lord of the Rings boyfriend.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings boyfriend quiz.
I would have picked Boromir, but that's just me.
Boromir's too sweaty. You know?
Sweaty as in like sweaty because he wants to win, or sweaty just like physically sweaty?
Physically sweaty. You know, I don't think Boromir.
The heart wants what it wants.
But his smile lights up an entire room. And the vision, Denethor's vision of him.
Yeah. I think I also just Faramir gives me the vibe of someone who grooms a little more. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Aragorn all the way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You can have him because I have Faramir. Girl. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have to share him with Arwen, so.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I like Eowyn too. We could be a throuple. So Faramir, but Pippin is like, you're a good guy. Like, you're great, you know? And then but Denethor is like, you're a failure. Like, I hate you.
Failed son.
Yeah, like you didn't bring the ring.
So harsh.
The ring should have lived in a vault to be used in time of need. And Faramir is like, if Boromir tried to get you the ring, like you wouldn't have recognized Boromir by the time he got here. You know, like he's just being real. And he's like, and Denethor, like, because he says, I listened to my heart. Like Pocahontas, like Roxette. Yeah, he's like, my heart, and they say that a lot in this movie. Like everyone kind of thinks of Lord of the Rings is very like kind of stoic and badass, but there's a lot of I listened to my heart and that told me what was right, you know? And I love that. And so he's like, yeah, I listened to my heart, and I was like, I'm not taking it. And Denethor is like, I hate you, and like falls off his chair because he's bathrobes, no trash.
Finally he's off his throne.
Yeah. And he like has a brief, like hits his head and has a body switching episode. No, he imagines that Boromir's there, lighting up a room, walking dramatically. He's like, my son. And Faramir's like, oh, like maybe my dad doesn't hate me. And then he's like,
but you can clearly see that like Denethor's vision is like 2 feet to his left.
Yeah.
And he's just like looking around like, oh fuck, god damn it.
And it fades, and then he's like, his face just darkens. He's like, my piece of shit son, you know. And he's like, I deserve it, a true son of Gondor, not some wizard's pupil. Because, you know, Faramir and Gandalf, like Gandalf used to visit. We know when he would do the Google search and go to the library.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, him and Faramir would like grab coffee, you know, talk about things. So yeah, Denethor fucking sucks. So at some point, again, get the timelines mixed up. Gandalf and Pippin do a stealth mission and light the beacons. And
beacons are lit.
Beacons are lit.
This movie had some iconic lines. When I was rewatching it, I was like, every other scene, I was like, iconic.
I was like, Gollum. I forget that these are double-sided. Pippin is sworn in at some point, and then so Denethor, he has 2 gross eating scenes. 2.
Too many.
Too many. And so he's eating grossly and is like, Faramir, you need to retake Osgiliath. And he's like, there were too many orcs. He's like, well, much is risked in war, as in other people's lives. Which is interesting because we were talking about the war on terror last week. You know.
Well, there you go.
Some of you may die, but that is a price I'm willing to pay.
Shout out to Shrek, the text. But also, if you think
the
of
Urtext,
World
Shrek.
If you think of World War I, you know, that he fought in, like that's very famous for like rich and powerful people just sending a ton of young men to die. You know,
Yeah.
So he's like, and Faramir's like, you wish I died and Boromir was alive, and Denethor did not stutter. He's
You
like,
bet your ass I do.
Yeah. And Faramir's like,
so
okay.
rude.
So Faramir's
Best
like,
dad award goes to
not Denethor. I guess Elrond. Who else is good? Who else is a dad? I guess.
You know,
Sam becomes a dad at the end.
Yeah, Sam. I guess it's Sam because I'm like Elrond, Theoden. We don't have a lot of winning dads in this.
Yeah. No.
Lord of the Rings, daddy issues.
Dad issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sauron is just trying to live up to his old boss dad,
Yeah.
So so he rides off and Gandalf is like, your dad loves you, don't die. I wrote like, you don't die, you're so sexy, like the famous online interaction. And but I'm like, Gandalf, wrong approach. You should have been like, your dad fucking sucks, don't die for him. Like, you deserve a dad who loves you, and that dad is me. I'm Gandalf.
And I was like, I'll be your daddy.
I'm Middle-earth's dad. I
Daddy
adopted
Gandalf.
the Shire. I'm adopting you too. Like, does your dad have a light up staff? No, he wears like gross fur robes and has never got a haircut. Like,
doesn't know how to eat a tomato.
He doesn't know.
Dad doesn't even know how to eat a tomato.
Gandalf was like, I already had to teach you table manners because you weren't getting that from anywhere.
Yeah.
So
Tell
just
you
make
to
it
use a napkin.
Yeah. Like, do you think Denethor gave Faramir the sex talk? No, it's probably Gandalf.
Oh God. Oh God.
So meanwhile, Denethor is like, sing me a song. And Pippin's like, I don't really have any like fancy songs. And Pippin,
so let me sing the saddest song I know.
At first, maybe because I just recently watched the 1970 Scrooge movie last night, but you just sounded like Albert Finney, just like, sing me a song.
Because he's like chewing as he does it, and so Pippin's like, okay, I'm gonna sing about like.
Let me drop this banger real quick.
The end of days as Faramir rides off, and I forget you don't see this battle, you just know they get wrecked. And I had the first Warhammer figurines I had were the Gondor Knight ones. They're the only ones I painted in a reasonable color scheme.
Well, there we go.
Celeborn had his ice blue cloak and Haldir his hot pink armor. Galadriel was like resplendent. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Iconic.
Yeah. I mean, we all know Haldir is a gatekeeper of a gate club. So, okay. Let's cut to another plot because we got a shit ton. Arwen, what's she doing?
What's she up to?
She's leaving Middle Earth. She's with her caravan, and there's a ship waiting for her. They're like the last journey of Arwen Undomiel. I'm like, how many trips she's been on? And it's her last journey, and then she has a vision, and she's like, she's a kid, and she sees Aragorn, and she's like, that's my son. Like, that's my kid. He's looking at me. He's wearing my necklace. And so they're like, hey, we can't delay. And she's like, cancel. I'm not on this trip anymore. Like,
give my ticket to someone else.
Yeah. And so she runs back. And Rivendell, I'm like, is it just Elrond? Is it empty? But then we see people making the sword. So I guess there are a few people there.
Yeah, that was kind of confusing. I literally thought it was like, oh, he's going down with the ship.
Yeah.
Like, this ship is just Rivendell.
Just his huge ass house. His ski resort.
He's like, finally, some peace. That's what I wanted.
And Arwen shows up and she's like, you saw my child. And then she's like dropping a book because the light of the Eldar is leaving her. And she's like, she's
so weak. She can't even hold a book.
Yeah. He's like, we need to get Andoril reforged, so Aragorn can be the king. So Elrond reforges it, brings it to Aragorn, and is like, you need to be the king. Simba, Sauron's vibes are just so bad.
Everything the light touches.
Sauron's vibes are so bad. Arwen is just dying from the bad vibes. She's like, if Sauron isn't defeated, Arwen she doesn't need orcs to kill her. The bad vibes alone will just she's like, I can't. So
yeah, everyone needs a therapist. Help you through it.
But Sauron just does not pass the vibe check so bad that people are dying from it.
People are dying from the bad vibes.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with Aragorn. So Theoden kind of mustered a little less than he hoped. They're like, we don't have enough to defeat Mordor. Merry wants to fight, and Éowyn is like, yeah, let's go. Shout out to one of the founders of the internet, Lindsay Ellis, who ships Éowyn and Merry. So let's.
I am also one of those people.
I've
surrounded myself with Twitter people who make amazing art. My friend Spectraling on Twitter, she does like amazing Éowyn and Merry art.
Love it.
That I'm pretty sure we could send you guys because it's fantastic, and
Oh
it
my
should
God.
really,
Absolutely.
they should really hit home that, you know what, maybe Merry should get himself a warrior queen for a wife.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, again, the only way I really ship Eowyn and Faramir is they're both very hot, dramatic, and pale. That's like what they have in common.
Yeah.
But Merry and
Is this
Eowyn,
Twilight?
Mary,
Yes.
Mary and Eowyn have on-screen chemistry interactions.
Yes. And that's why, like,
they do.
spoiler alert, when they end up together, I'm like, have they ever spoken? I don't remember this. All of a sudden, she's like cuddling him. He's just like, oh, he's off-brand Aragorn.
Aragorn.
So this works for me.
Yeah, he's
So
Eric.
I get
The
she's like, I'll
Walmart
just put a
brand.
bag over his head, or like something over around his eyes, and I'll make it work.
She's like, this is Aragorn, but he shaves his nipples.
And maybe uses a little shampoo.
Yeah.
He
Yeah, his
bathes.
hair looks clean.
He bathes.
He's the one
Yeah.
person in this world bathing. He's
Yeah,
not
you're
an
right.
elf.
He does groom. He grooms
Yeah.
himself very nicely.
So
All right, I stand with you. He's hot,
yeah, he's not.
but I love my grunge king.
I mean, when he's holding that palantir at that scene and he's like holding up the sword and his shirt's yeah.
Yeah.
So Éomer is like, don't encourage Merry. Like, he's a little hobbit. Like, there's gonna be violence and screaming
Love
and
it.
fear, and he's gonna run away, and that's a good choice for him. And he's basically also implying like, and that's a good choice for you, which, he's sexist, but at least it's coming from the place of like, hey, I'm your brother and I don't want you to like die horribly.
Right.
Because
Because he's been in war.
Yeah.
And she has always been sort of delegated to the back, unfortunately.
Though it is kind of like she was in those hallways of women and children screaming as the orcs were. Like, that's also traumatic.
Yeah.
So I think he does something very interesting with Éowyn, and it's funny because I think if you did the exact same storyline now, there'd be people saying it wasn't woke enough, just as they do now, but there'd also be people saying this is too woke and girl bossy and like pandering, and it's from a book from the 50s.
Okay. So you guys know that originally Arwen was supposed to be at Helm's Deep,
yes,
for the films, right?
Yeah.
It has eaten me up that we didn't get that, because she would have been such a cool addition to just see throughout the films. It would have stuck with like the Baron and Luthien parallels with Aragorn and Arwen, and it would have felt better. It, like, when like that hooded figure is coming up to give Aragorn the sword, it's like, oh, it's your father-in-law for some reason.
The musical has it be her. So
yeah, Arwen brings him the sword, and that would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic, because in the books she brings him a banner at the end, or she makes him the banner and sends it with some of his kinsmen. But like, I think it would have been so much cooler if Arwen was just more prevalent in all these films, than just like that first half of Fellowship, because Liv Tyler, like, she was already fairly integral because they filmed so many like behind the scenes scenes with her. And it's like, obviously you guys filmed a lot more than got put in the film. And if like all the rest of the cast was like, oh yeah, we loved Liv, we really kind of just gathered around her as like big brothers, it's like, well, I gotta know now, like, how many other scenes did you guys make that could have had her in it? So
yeah, she was too busy being like an emo girl, and I was like, she can do more. I know she can.
We know she can. We saw her saving Frodo.
Yeah.
She was way more kick-ass.
Yeah,
but
like,
now in the rest of these movies is her being like
languishing,
like looks out into the distance.
Like,
when will my husband return from war?
Exactly.
I will. Yeah, imagine her in like the Paths of the Dead. Maybe they thought it would mess up the bromance.
Maybe.
Yeah. They're like a little too straight. So, okay, so where are we? Okay, so he's gatekeeping war is what I wrote, but he loves his sister, and she's like, why can't he fight for the ones he loves? Coded, why can't I fight for the ones I love? And then Aragorn is feeling the dead call to him, and he's like, okay, I'm the true king. We need them to defeat Mordor. And Éowyn is like, oh, don't go. And he's like, you love a shadow. You love the idea of me. But
okay, Edward.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But when you realize that I will never wear deodorant in my life, you might not love me as much.
I'm
When he becomes king,
he does clean up. He does clean up.
He does wash his hair.
Yeah.
He washes his hair. He gets a blowout.
Yeah.
He wears deodorant.
He does. Okay, you're
but
correct.
He's a horse girl. He is going through war, Cullen. Oh my gosh. Just because Faramir is like really anal about all that stuff, cleans his fingernails, gross.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, when you're a king, like cleaning you is like a high-ranking noble's job. So somebody's like, it's my job to be your toilet keeper.
Yeah.
So Legolas and Gimli are like, well, obviously we're coming with you. Like, you just think we're gonna hang out with the Rohan people? Like, we don't know them. Like, that'd be awkward. Like, and so Legolas, as usual, explains these men like forsook their vow. They promised the king to fight with him, and then they ran and hide. Jennifer Love Hewitt is not here to help them pass into the light, so they've just been lurking.
Wow, that is a deep cut.
I love a Ghost Whisperer reference.
Because there's so many of them to make.
I find ways. You
really do. Cullen finds a way.
Life finds a way.
Life and Jennifer Love Hewitt in a corset-inspired top as a Ghost Whisperer. Yeah. So they go into this creepy skull tomb. They're like, don't look down. Gimli looks down. They're walking on skulls. There's wispy hands. The effects of the dead people kind of remind me of the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland.
Yes, I thought so too.
Oh, yep, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And they show up and they're like, the dead made this path and the dead keep it. We're going to kill you. And he's like, I'm the king. Fulfill your oath. Fight for me. And they're like, ha ha. And they disappear. And then this tomb like blows up and skulls are falling down. And Aragorn's just like, oh, come on. You didn't need this.
Yeah.
I don't got time for this.
What was the purpose of putting so many skulls in that wall to create a literal skull waterfall?
I was like, how many people were in this community?
How many like, is this like several like generations even prior before the curse? Like when you die, your skull just gets added to the skull wall. Like,
yeah, like in Moana, when her dad is like, every chieftain puts their rock on the thing.
Yeah, they just take their skull and like just ball it up into like the skull pit.
Like, someday, kids, your skulls will rest with the skulls
they
of
turn
your
around.
forefathers.
They've got so good they turn around and throw it backwards.
Trick shot.
Yep.
So they escape, and the Corsairs of Umbar, they're pillaging, and Aragorn is sad. And then the dead show up. They're like, yeah, okay, we'll fight for you. We just wanted to see if you'd survive. We've been really building up to the skull waterfall. I just wanted to use it.
We had to use it. We can't just let that go.
Which fair, you know. And then they show up, and Aragorn is like, give them a warning shot, tell them not to pass. And then Gimli like hits the bow, so it just kills somebody. He's like, oh, did I do that? You know? Oopsie. And then the Corsairs are like, we're gonna kill you, and then the dead swarm their ships. Okay, back to Gondor, back to Minas Tirith. Denethor is like, Faramir is dead, my line is over, we're doomed. And Pippin's like, no, he's still alive. It's like, I'm not dead yet.
He's breathing. He's got a pulse.
And Denethor is like, no, he's dead.
He's dead to me.
And then he's like, we're doomed, because he sees the army. And he's like, everybody flee. Rohan abandoned us. You know, Rohan, who I purposely did not call.
Yeah, I'm so mad that these people that I didn't help aren't helping me.
And Gandalf is just like, knocks him out. He's like, I've had enough. This nonsense. I'm like, thank
my
God.
wits end.
And he's like, okay, everyone, don't abandon your posts.
Yeah, it's like, stay and fight.
We're gonna fight, because this is something I like. I think in the book they have all the women and children like go into a like hidden mountain pass, which kind of lowers the stakes. Like the idea that like there are people in this city that's being attacked does make it scarier, you know. So the orcs are like, there's this orc with like a head hat that he's wearing, And they're throwing bodies over to scare the soldiers. The siege towers are coming. Gandalf is like, hit the trolls. He's like, I don't care if that troll is played by Justin Timberlake. And they're shooting at the trolls. They still breach the walls, and they use Grond. They're chanting Grond, Grond, this like wolf.
Oh, good old Grond.
Yeah. It makes me think of Galaxy Quest, and they're like, grok, grok, grok.
Yeah.
Honestly, Tim Allen's best work. And
when I first watched this movie, my friends hyped up Grond so much. They're like, Grond's the best character. I can't wait for you to meet Grond. I was very much expecting a person, an elf, a hobbit, a human, just to find out it's a battering ram
shaped like a wolf.
I was like, cool.
It's a hoodwinked inspired battering ram. It's based on Patrick Warburton's Wolf.
I think you're right. I think that's 1,000% correct.
Yeah.
That's how time works.
That's how time works. Either that, or I guess that wolf that was in Baron and Luthien, the evil wolf werewolf guy.
Turned into Grond.
Yeah.
Well, Grond is the name of Melkor's hammer.
Okay, so this is a real.
It's the hammer of the underworld. I forget what the werewolf's name is.
Yeah,
it's not important enough to really have a name.
So the hammer thing, werewolf, it's on fire. It slams the door open. They stand their ground, but they're getting their asses beat. They break into the city. They lose the first level. We got women and children fleeing, and I will say, maybe you should have had them flee like the moment the hammer came out. But it's chaos. But Denethor he has all these people wrapped up in his little funeral. And I'm like, don't you need help with this siege?
Yeah.
Like, they're soldiers. They're people with weapons.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
He's having
Denethor's insane.
Kid first.
Yeah, he's like.
And himself.
Yeah. It's like, burn us like the kings of old. And like, you're not a king, babes.
Yeah.
Get back on your little throne.
Get back on your secondary throne.
Your high chair version of a throne.
So he's like, I'm gonna burn me and Faramir, and Pippin is like, he's alive. And then Denethor's like, you're fired. Kicks him out. The Rohirrim are leaving. Merry is sad to be left behind, but Éowyn scoops him up and is like, stay close to me. And he's like, my lady. So
tension, charisma, chemistry.
It's there. So Gandalf is like fighting off the orcs, and Pippin runs down and is like, Denethor's gonna kill Faramir, and Pippin is like scared, but he does manage to kill an orc. And then he's riding away with Gandalf, and the Witch King shows up, and Gandalf tries to throw him back, but the Witch King breaks Gandalf's staff now. Uno reverse, and
like anyone can just break staffs these days.
Yeah.
And Pippin is screaming or whatever. He's trying, and then he hears trumpets, so he flies off. So Gandalf and Pippin go up to the tombs where Denethor is burning Faramir, and Gandalf is like, none of this. He launches Pippin onto the pyre, who gets Faramir off and puts out the water. And Denethor jumps on to be like, no, and then he sees Faramir waking up, and he's like, my son. And then he burns up and runs away and jumps off on fire.
Has enough time to run all the way back to the front of the city for a dramatic
Yeah.
Like, imagine you're like these peasants, like this blacksmith and his wife, you're like fleeing up the city, and then like your cart gets squished by the burning steward, who just like,
I was gonna say, imagine you're one of those soldiers of Gondor where you're like, oh my god, I think I'm gonna survive this, and you just get crushed by your burning, like
the leader,
the unluckiest Gondorian soldier.
And then your friend is like, oh, I just fucking hated Denethor.
Yeah.
Even in death,
my friend was 2 days from retirement.
Yeah. So Gandalf and Pippin are being besieged. This troll's hammering things down, and Pippin's like, didn't think it was going to end like this. And Gandalf is like, think of the Undying Lands. We don't know if hobbits go there, but I think
it'd be nice if they did.
It'd be, maybe he knows. Maybe Vanna and Nessa told him. So Theoden is like, I love that he's riding out to ruin and the world's ending. He's having everyone scream death. Theoden is an emo bitch till the end.
Yep.
they charge the orcs, and it's working pretty well. The Mordor forces scattered. But then the Haradrim and the elephants arrive. I wrote, oh no, the evil ethnic coded people. A yikes in and out of story. Like, oh, we're gonna get killed, but out of story, I'm like, really?
Yikes.
We really leaned into that, didn't we? Like, And then they fight. Éowyn and Merry take down an Oliphant and the Orc General and the Abercrombie CEO.
Yep.
They like swoop in.
Capitalism.
Power couple.
Yeah. And then the Witch King arrives, and this is when Theoden is like, oh, fuck. And he gets squished. And Éowyn and Merry are like fighting the Witch King, and he's like, no man can kill me. And Éowyn is like, I am no man.
No man.
She whips her helmet off. She was waiting. She's like, I'll do it if there's a good moment for it.
Yeah.
You know,
like, if someone calls me a man, I'm gonna be like, bitch.
And she stabs him in the face with her sword, and it's like
awesome,
blowing him up.
Badass.
I wrote, not girl boss, girl queen, girl goddess, like icon. She stabs.
Slay.
And I say people would say this is cringe.
She did.
She slayed the Witch King.
Mm-hmm.
People would say this is cringe and MerryxEowyn now, but it was and will forever be iconic.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like also like Mulan and Joan of Arc are very old concepts. So the idea of like women fighting isn't like something people came up with in the 90s, you know?
No.
I don't care how cheesy people think it is. Like, I'm going to root for it every time.
Yeah. Again, we needed more female representation, and this is one that we got. It's like, I'm going to cherish it.
Yeah,
exactly.
And she's not doing it just because she's like, I want to be like the boys. She's doing it because she's like, everything I love.
About her people.
Everything I love is in peril, and I don't want to just. I'm not Arwen. Can't be her. I can't just sit there and languish.
Yeah, she's like, I don't like Evanescence.
Yeah, she's like, I love a good languish, but when I need to, I'm riding my horse and I'm killing the Abercrombie CEO.
Yeah,
someone's got to do it. Might as well be me.
Yeah. So she's comforting Theoden as he dies to go be with his fathers, and she's like, also, where's Merry? And then she's being chased by the Orc General, and she like can't reach her sword, but boom, the dead are here because the two heads orc is like, Corsairs, you finally fucking showed up. And then Aragorn is like, actually, time to die. Here's my army of ghosts. The king is returned. So the
Return of the king. Wow.
So the ghosts, you know, swoop everyone up, and Legolas does his contractual badass thing where he like kills the whole Oliphant, and Gimli's like, still counts as one.
He's down the trunk.
And I'm like, that poor animal was didn't know any better.
Oliphants that died, rest in peace to them. But also something that, like, when we first saw them, what was it, last movie, right?
Yeah.
Like they're far away, and you finally see the scale of how big they are. Like they're like trampling over people and stuff. That's incredible.
Yeah. It kind of had to happen. It's kind of a Harambe situation.
Yeah. Dicks out for Harambe.
Yeah.
I haven't heard a Harambe reference in so long.
We are 1,000 years old on the internet.
We're here to bring back, because there's
we're gonna resurrect all the memes.
I think
on this episode alone.
I'm trying to remember who I said in my notes was Miss Keisha. Like, bitch, you fucking dead. Miss Keisha. Oh god, you're bitch fucking dead. So Minas Tirith is saved. Éomer's crying for Éowyn. Aragorn is like, even though Gimli is like, let's keep him around, Aragorn keeps his promise. He lets the ghost go.
He's a good king.
Go off, king. Go off. And then Aragorn heals Éowyn, and she's hanging out in the Houses of Healing and starts to bond with Faramir, I guess. They look at each other longingly. Pippin finds Merry, and he's like, I'm going to take care of you now. Because like he was like hiding under people while Éowyn and Éowyn and Faramir are doing their dreamy thing. I'm like, this feels like one of this. You could have reversed these scenes and it would have made a lot more sense.
Right.
Like a simple fix.
Take away the Oscar for best editing.
And then
10 years later.
they're like,
Revoked.
Sauron has 10,000 orcs in Frodo's way. Aragorn is like, we need to distract him because Gandalf is kind of like, oh fuck, we ruined this. Like, he's gonna die. Saruman got to him. And Aragorn is like, no, we're gonna distract the orcs. He uses the Palantir to be like, hey, I'm the king. And Sauron is like, my bad vibes are killing Arwen. And he like drops the Palantir. But it still worked because he's like, I'm gonna kick your butt. Like, come and meet me by the bleachers, by the dumpster. Like, we're fighting. By the dumpster that you live, which is Mordor. Faramir and Eowyn bond more. But here's the thing. I just wish they were there for the final battle. Why do they have to be? Like, Merry got injured too. Why are they still healing? Like, IRL, I don't begrudge people healing, but I'm like, for a movie, like, why can't I have some of my faves here? You know, Eowyn would have shut the mouth of Sauron up earlier. She's like, I already had to deal with Grima. I can't take another one of these fucks.
Yeah.
These podcast bros. So, okay, Battle of the Black Gate. Aragorn and his army arrive. The named characters go treat with the mouth of Sauron. He's got his disgusting little teeth. No, obviously Sauron does not provide a dental plan. He's a shitty boss. He's like, Owlay didn't give me one. You're not getting one.
That being has some serious gingivitis and just plaque buildup, and this is very big gums.
Yeah. He shows them the mithril shirt that the orcs took from Frodo. He's like, he suffered much and died horribly. And Merry and Pippin are like, Frodo. And Gandalf is like, don't tell them anything. And Gandalf is upset. And the mouth is like, Aragorn, you're just a loser, blah, blah, blah. Aragorn is like, cuts his head off. He's like, we've had enough of this. And I'm like, thank God. He's like, Frodo's not dead. I don't believe it. They're lying. You know, he knows what's up. You know, as Gandalf is faltering, he built up Aragorn. So he has that support. That's why you build people up, you know.
Don't tear people down, build them up.
Build them up. And then the orcs march out, big battle. Aragorn is like, someday the strength of men will fail, but today is not that day.
Nope.
Great speech. And then Gimli's like, I never thought I'd die beside an elf. And Legolas is like, how about a friend? And Gimli's like, yeah.
Oh, my heart.
Love it.
So pure. They charge. Aragorn is tired because this troll is coming. He's like, fuck, and they are fighting the troll. The Nazgul attack, but my favorite girl boss icon in this franchise shows up. It's the Moth. She's back. She is the most efficient person in this world. Like, everyone else, like, she's like, I think they're probably gonna need the Eagles. Like, no one asked, but like, they're a little worse for wear. Like,
I love the idea that because moths are so short-lived, this is actually like the grandson of the moth that found Gandalf at Orthanc, and it's like, I'm gonna do my grandfather proud.
Moths, they're on it here, you know? Like, yeah, so they charge. So the Eagles show up, they fight the Nazgul. All right, back to Sam and Frodo, back to the alleged day plot. Sam finds out Frodo is alive.
It's been so long.
I know.
I forgot about them.
And I like,
which is how I felt in the movie.
It is. And I'm literally trying to sum this movie up
that's
quickly.
like the purpose of this film series.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, there's a ring? What? I
There's a
thought this
ring
was just about a king.
Yeah. He's returning. So he finds out Frodo's alive and he's like, I'm not leaving him. He goes to the tower. The orcs are fighting over the fancy shirt. It's Black Friday up in here. So he gets up, he's fighting the orcs, and he's like, this is for Frodo, this is for the Shire, this is for my old gaffer, this is for my grandpa. You know, like, and so he rescues Frodo. He's like, Frodo's like, they have the ring. And he's like, actually,
I took it from you when you were wrapped up in that web.
And then Frodo's like, what? And then he's like, I thought you were dead. And he's like, it's my burden. Like, he's like a little possessive, but you get it. Because he doesn't want to ruin his bestie.
Right.
But it's a little, it's getting to him. They dress up as orcs. They're like trying to get away.
Okay. They just put on helmets and like the outfits. And I'm like, any orc
there
would
is
be like,
no size difference.
I smell human like things. I don't smell orcs unless like orcs stink that bad.
Yeah.
You just
That
can't
could
smell
be it.
at all. anything
True.
else.
Yeah. Orcs.
But, like,
I thought the
these-
size difference would tell.
Yeah, but like they clearly do not look like orcs. I was like, this is the most comical thing I've ever seen.
They have really bad vision, I guess.
Maybe.
So they're like going along with the troop because all the troops are marching toward the Black Gate. So they think they're gonna get caught. So Frodo's like, start a fight. So they start a fight. Orcs are fighting. They sneak out. Classic D&D party move. They don't have much water, and he's like, "What?" Frodo's like, "What about the return journey?" And Sam's like, "Sorry, babes, no return journey for us, probably."
I didn't buy that ticket.
Yeah,
We're just one way in it.
we on our Spirit Airlines flight, because this is the same level of quality as the Spirit Airlines is going to give you. Not sponsored. Yeah. So Sauron is looking at them. Frodo falls. Eye is turned away because Aragorn's just attacking. So he encourages Frodo with thoughts of the Shire and strawberries. And Frodo's like, I can only remember like evil.
Yeah.
And he's like, I
And
can't.
that's so sad. Like that's when you know Frodo is kind of gone.
Like his mental damage, like, you know, it's like the meme, the emotional damage, like it's at 0%.
Taken hold. Can't remember home when home was like the driving force
to go
so
on
much.
This. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sam carries him up Mount Doom. He's like, I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you.
But I can carry you.
So good.
Lines. This movie has such good lines.
Gollum is like,
I forgot about that bitch.
Bet you thought she
You
saw the last of me.
You pulled out that Emma
Surprise,
Roberts
bitch.
reference.
Pew, pew, pew.
And so it's bitter. This is like head bashing, slamming on rocks. Sam kind of beats him, and Frodo snuck up to the mountain, which has a convenient little gateway. I guess that's where Sauron forged the ring. Not guarded, just open.
No, these villains, these fantasy villains have no idea of what good security looks like.
Yes.
That's why this episode is sponsored by Simply Safe. Not sponsored.
I dream of the day where we can do that. I dream. Oh my God.
I know.
Frodo is about to destroy it, but at the end he's like, the ring is mine. And Sam was like, we made it so far.
Like, we're so fucking close. Just drop it.
And he puts it on, but Gollum sees the footprints and he like jumps on him, bites off his finger. There's blood.
So in a weird way, Gollum was a hero.
Yeah. There's blood.
Saved the day in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
Blood, screaming, fighting. Gollum falls in. Frodo's hanging off the edge.
Dramatic. It's traumatic.
Gollum slowly oozes into the magma and the lava, and he's so obsessed with the ring he doesn't even like scream. And then the ring is like taking its time. It's like
just like sits there on like a crusty part of the lava.
It's like buffering the destruction. It's like,
it's
like
it's doing a dramatic pause.
Yeah, it's like the crunchies you get on top of like a baked mac and cheese or something like that. That's what it's sitting on top of. Yeah.
Making me hungry.
Now I want mac and cheese.
Like some good lava after this.
I'll order some DoorDash sponsored by Grubhub, actually.
So the ring's destroyed. So Mordor just crumbles. His eyes, his flaming contact, his flaming hot Cheeto of a contact.
My brand
is zooming around. It blows up. The tower crumbles. The gates crumble. The trolls get away. The trolls run away, but the orcs all literally crumble in conveniently around the humans.
Yeah.
The Nazgul are just hit with lava and like rocks. And so they're all cheering Frodo, but then they're like, oh, this is where I wrote Miss Keisha, because they see the mountain blowing up. They're like, oh, that bitch fucking dead.
Oh, no.
But Sam and Frodo run off. They flee. They dream of like the Shire, and Sam's like, I love Rosie Cotton.
They had to make sure we knew he was hetero. They had to force that line in. And we were like, okay, Sam, sure.
You're bi.
Someone edited that scene where instead of saying like if I were ever to settle down with someone, it would be her, but they'd replace it'd be you. And it's like, there, I have fixed Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Because they kind of do live together for a while. So
in the books they do, yeah.
So so the eagles and Gandalf show up. We've never addressed on this podcast the whole why don't the eagles just fly them in thing. I'm gonna say it's way too fucking obvious that Nazgul would just attack.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, the eagles aren't just someone you can like summon at will. Like
you need the moth. You need the moth.
You need. It's not just you also need the moth, but they're also like a very proud people, and you're just like, hey, can you do this entire thing for us? They're like, sorry.
They're like,
literally, they only help out Gandalf because he's got like 3 wishes from the eagles, and he's already used up 2 of them.
Yeah, they're like, you made the rings, not us, babes. You know, like
try FedEx.
Yeah. So I'm obsessed. Okay, so Frodo wakes up in bed. Shout out to when Hannah thought the series is over in Fellowship because he woke up in bed.
It was very confusing when the scene happened. I was like, oh no, this is the actual end. Got it.
The Fellowship does their roll call. They come in, their curtain call. And the Hobbit, like Pippin does a full backflip on that bed.
He jumps. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
And
our friends always laugh about how Frodo sees like Legolas comes in and he's like,
ew, Merry, Pippin, Gimli.
It's like it's like
just
you're my Aragorn's boyfriend.
Because like, the last in the movies, at least, the last thing Legolas had said to Frodo was, "You have my bow."
Wow.
Which was how many hours ago?
That was like months ago.
Yeah, he's the friend, he's the boyfriend, like you have your friend group that like you went out with, and like somebody's boyfriend or cousin or somebody is just there. Right. And like you don't really know them. Like they're cool, you don't dislike them, but you're like,
you're just like, I don't know how to connect with you.
Cannot remember their name.
Yeah.
But he's here.
He's here. Thanks.
We're so happy.
Yeah.
Thanks for being a friend.
Thank you for being a friend.
Sam does just a little smirk, a little soft smile as he comes in.
Soft smile.
Yeah.
Gay little smile.
Aragorn is crowned at Minas Tirith by Gandalf. Gimli holds the pillow. I love the concept of who holds the pillow in fantasy movies at coronations, because in a monarchy that's an actual job, but it's always like whatever character is like free. And I was like, oh, the beaver's available, Gimli.
Gimli is beaver equivalent.
Kinda, yeah. And then that Legolas shows up and is like, here's Arwen. And she like does a little peekaboo behind the banner. She's like, I'm here.
Hey,
oh, look who it is.
They kiss.
Oh, he goes like tongue first.
Yeah, he's like, he's horny. It's been a minute.
Yeah, he's like, listen, I had temptation too, and
he's like, Andy Grammer, who I've been, honey, I'm good.
Oh boy.
So Eowyn's also with Faramir, and then all the humans and elves bow to the hobbits because the hobbits bow to him. He's like, no, we bow to you.
I love that.
And that's where the Lego video game ends, but we got a few more scenes. So
that's what I watched. I watched the Lego video game. This is all going to be new information for me.
So 13 months later, I don't remember how long it takes in the book, but it's much longer, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, it's a year. They spend a year in Minas Tirith and then they travel home.
But they say it's 13 months from when they left.
Yeah, from when they started the journey.
Yeah.
I was confused. I was like, wow, that feels like not enough time to do all this and
even
get
in
back.
the books. Yeah, even in the books, like the journey takes like a year, but then they spend like a whole other year in Minas Tirith being like pampered basically, because everyone's like, oh my god, you're the Fellowship. It's like, you're damn, you bet your ass we're the Fellowship.
So they're back. They celebrate at the pub, but it's kind of weird. People are like, get out of the way of my pumpkin.
Yeah, it's well, so when they first roll up into the Shire, that guy who's like sweeping his stoop like glares at them
Yeah.
And it's like they've been gone for so long. You're not even just like happy that they're back at all.
I
world.
always wanted to watch the reaction of Merry and Pippin's families because they still have parents alive and siblings, and they just come back after just leaving without a word a year ago, or at least 2 years in the books, but a year ago at least now, and they're just like dressed up in all this finery, and there's just no.
We just saved the world, NBD.
Yeah, and so then when they're at the pub, this is sort of where I definitely got those vibes of like coming back from war and how things are just so different. Like everyone's lives stay the same, but everything is different for them.
It's like when everyone goes to the bar on Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, when they go back home and you're like, this is weird.
Everything is different.
Yeah.
I'm different.
Like if I went back to Cornwall's in Boston, I'd be like,
oh yeah,
what's happening? And why does the kitchen close at 8? You know?
Why does it still close at 8? The rest of this place is open till 2 a.m. You can at least give me like a sandwich at 10 p.m.
So the Sam is ready to hit on Rosie, and they're all like, gas, but he's like, I stabbed a giant spider. I can hit on a girl now.
Yeah.
And so
we all carry that confidence when we go flirt with someone at the bar.
Yeah. The bartender
just killed a giant spider.
Yeah.
The bartender, that's ballsy. So they get married. Pippin catches the bouquet. Frodo finishes his book, which is a sequel to Bilbo's book. But it's been 4 years since Weathertop, and it still hurts. So also Bilbo has been afforded passage on the last ship across the sea to the Undying Lands, which means for a while in Rivendell, it was just Elrond and Bilbo. The odd couple.
How awkward.
Are they like?
I want that series on TBS.
Yeah.
Elrond and Bilbo.
So they're escorting him, and he's like, "Oh, can I see that ring? I'd love to see it again." And Frodo's like, I lost it. Thinking that ring ruined my whole life.
Yeah. Also through some of these scenes, like you just see Frodo is kind of like barely there.
Yeah.
It's like really like fantastic acting. It's so subtle. Like it's not like very obvious. It's just like he's smiling at the wedding, and then he's just kind of like glazed.
Yeah, skating through. Definitely got that PTSD and no therapist. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's like he sees life and he's happy, but like he can't fully be present.
Yes.
A part of him is dead, you know. So he needs
and the other
healing.
Part of him just married Rosie. So
yeah.
He needs healing that only Esty, who we talked about like 5 hours ago, can provide in her little garden. Fun fact about her, she sleeps during the day. She's on the night shift. So it's in the books, it's not the last ship, but here, this is the very last ship. This is the last chance to go to the Undying Lands. So it's the Grey Havens, and it's empty. Galadriel, Celeborn, I'm guessing that guy in the back is Círdan, because his whole thing is he's waiting to the very last ship. And Elrond are all there. They're like, the era of the rings is over. We're leaving. Bilbo's like, oh, time for another adventure. And Galadriel's like, that Bilbo, that scamp. And Gandalf reveals his ring subtly, and he's like, it's time to go, Frodo. And they're like, the hobbits are like, what? And he's like, I can't do it anymore. Like, I need the heat.
Hobbits and Tori were like, what? What the fuck?
He's like,
actually,
we did it to save the Shire, but not for me, for you, you know? And they hug, and Gandalf has this great line where he's like, not all tears are an evil. Like, yeah, cry. Like, this is sad, you know? And
Gandalf's the therapist.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's why he's so booked and busy. That's why he's traveling. He's got a lot of
that's why he knows everyone. He is the sole therapist
in wizardry and therapy.
With Nina, the Weeper.
There you go. There you go.
Actually, okay, checks out. We solved it.
Yeah.
Good. I'm so glad they have a therapist.
One.
But he is very hard to get a hold of, and that's why everyone still has a lot of
3 years in advance. So that's why everyone is still fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have sent a boat with like 10 therapists instead of 5 wizards. Yeah. So Frodo, hugs Sam goodbye, gives him the book, and it says the last pages are for you. And it's about like, hey, like my part in the story is done, your story continues. You know, like you have a life to live. And he sees Rosie and their kids, and they go in their cute little house, and the door shuts, and we did it.
Hey.
Man.
So good.
So good. There's a line where they're like, we're here together at the end of all things, which I think I said to describe us watching the end of Glee at one point. So yeah, here we are. We did it.
We went to Mordor and back. Forget Sam and Frodo.
Yeah.
So let's do our little wrap up. In some movies, we'd spend a long time on this, but for Lord of the Rings, we tend to do it quick because it's a long.
Yeah.
The vibes, the visuals, the music.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, this movie was in 2003. The visuals, we've advanced, right?
Yeah. They hold up well enough.
But I still think mostly like it's something like you can still buy into very easily that like this is a real place, this is real stuff that's happening. But I mean, mostly just like when they get to Mount Doom and just like how scary that is. Very good. I loved that.
Lifeless, dirty.
Yeah.
Because that's really the
hot. I felt hot when they're up there fighting. I was like, I feel like I'm on fire.
That's me when my husband sleeps with the heater on. It's very, we don't see a lot of new places in this one. We see Minas Tirith, we see Gondor, which
looks great. It looks really cool.
And the marble, I think that's specifically like a Venetian or Italian thing that they would do, where they'd have like the black marble and the white. It like spread. I think France has it a bit, but I think it makes me think of Italy and like Southern Europe. And we have the Grey Havens, which are empty. They're a little pretty, I guess. You know, we've seen the elves. We've seen the elves work better, you know, like Rivendell and Lothlorien. Yeah. A little subpar. So the characters, do we root for our protagonists, Frodo and Sam?
Oh, of course, always.
The best. And do we ship them?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I was happy that like Sam was like, yeah, I'm gonna go with Rosie. But like when he does say like, I want to marry her, and then Frodo's just like puts his arm over him, like, okay, that's what you think. Stay straight. Sure.
Yeah.
I think too, watching this, because the first time I watched it was during the pandemic. So the all of Sam's lines about like hope and friendship and doing this together, it like really hit home during that period and now. So it's just rooting for them specifically the whole time. Yes.
Yeah.
Even though we barely see them.
I know.
And do we we have Gandalf and Pippin. Pippin is kind of moving on from being the problem child. You know,
he's growing up.
And you know, Gandalf, we love him. We've talked about this before. And then Aragorn and Arwen, do we ship them?
Yes, I love them so much. They're so sexy together.
I feel like I need a little more book context for them specifically.
I feel like you get more in the movie from what I remember.
Really? I feel like I don't know much about Aragorn, maybe just because he's just like a white man and I'm like, but so something also within our Twitter sphere and Paul, someone mentioned lesbian Aragorn, and then I was like, oh, okay, I kind of see the appeal now. But I do really love like human and elf relationships, like any cross-race relationships, elf and dwarves, like humans and elves. I love that shit. So
yeah,
here for it.
Every half elf needs a backstory. Yeah. MerryxEowyn, we love their journey. Exciting. Do we ship them?
Yeah. I just discovered it. I love this.
There's some good art. Google it, look it up.
Yeah. The one that Paul sent in the chat, very good. I love it.
Yes, they have
campfire.
Their entire Instagram just has a bunch of Merry and Eowyn.
I need to remember the name so I can follow them and then share it.
Spectraling.
I love that name too. Oh my gosh.
On both Instagram and Twitter, I believe.
And then
some spicy stuff.
Yes, and some spicy
stuff. hopefully not as bad as the stuff you sent me during Book of Life. So
No. I did not. No,
ruining
it's
La
okay.
Muerte. Yeah.
I see Book of Life. What?
Oh.
The internet is an unholy place, much like Mordor.
Yes.
Faramir, do we ship him and Éowyn?
No.
Not really.
Sorry.
No.
I don't understand it.
It's a very pair the spares. It's very
Honestly,
like
I forgot
It
they
really
were
is. They
together
got nothing
until this
going on.
podcast.
Might as
I
well.
forgot that was a thing.
yeah.
It felt like Tolkien was like, well, obviously she needs a man, so he's around.
What man do we have left? This
Yeah.
This guy, this sad sack.
He's more than that. He's really sensitive.
He's sad at every fucking scene. You just look at him, he's got these puppy eyes, looking like he
I
just
know.
got
Cullen
kicked
is
all
like
the
Faramir,
time.
right?
Cullen's like, hey, I love that.
I can help him.
Yeah. I'll take care of him.
Yeah, but I get like him and Éowyn. I'm like, I could ship them. It's not like I could never see them together. But it's Go Girl, Give Us Nothing. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Legolas and Gimli. I guess do we ship? This has
Yeah.
become do we ship? And I guess I think I friendship more than like relationship them, but I love their friendship.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is really fun. Éomer and Theoden are there. They're characters.
They do
They're here.
things.
They're good characters, but they're not the main attraction, you know.
I think they are okay characters that were played by really good actors. You have
Yes.
Bernard Hill,
Oh.
like even just
Mhm.
remembering from the last movie, his like mourning at the grave of his son, that
Yes.
always moves me to tears. And then
Yeah, I talked
Éomer
about that
finding
too.
Éowyn unconscious on
Yeah.
the battlefield,
Mhm.
and Carl Urban just putting his
So
like
good.
entire pussy into this
Yeah.
performance
Yes.
of just
Yeah.
Excellent point, Paul. Excellent point.
Yeah.
yes, I believe the actors do a greater service to the characters than the characters
Yes.
themselves.
True. And the elves are very much like less and less in each movie.
Oh, it's what else? It's like, okay.
Elrond and Galadriel are like
They're
Elrond
there.
is door dashing this
The
magic sword to
sword.
his like
Galad-
his son-in-law,
Kate
basically.
Blanchett is basically cameoing. She's in two
Yes.
scenes. She's so Sauron
It's
is
such a
sending
shame.
Sauron's sending his
Yeah.
bad vibes, and this is essentially her song in the musical. She's just in Lothlorien, like
Yeah.
sending good vibes.
Wah, wah.
she's blasting Fleetwood Mac's Rhiannon,
Yeah.
and she's like running around. Yeah. So we have our antagonists. We got Sauron, Hot Cheetos Contact.
Classic absent villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people have absent fathers. We have an
Absent.
absent villain.
But you
Where
know,
he
being
can't even be
overall
bothered to
spooky.
harass us in person. He's always got to send some dickweed to do it instead.
Yeah.
which I think adds to
He's just insecure.
I have a theory on Dark Lords that we'll have to test, that sometimes absence makes the heart grow scareder. You know?
Yeah,
Interesting.
your mind has to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
I think this suffers by having him personified as a big eyeball, because it's just hard for me to take that seriously. But in
Yeah.
the books, he's described as being this wraith-like creature that just kind of like wanders the halls of this like ancient tower of his. The fact
Was it
that
in the Hobbit movies where they gave like a creepy body?
yeah, it was in the Hobbit
He
movies
was the
when they made him.
necromancer.
Yeah, when he was in
Oh,
the
yeah.
when he was the necromancer. But in the books, like Gollum has seen Sauron, and he says he's like, no, he's still missing a finger from when it got like hacked off.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I feel like they could have done a lot more with that Sauron. But hey, this Sauron is like a good, like, hey, he's the bad guy. Get him.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, because I guess my mind goes to the Shade and Aragon and the villain in the Dungeons and Dragons movie, and like they're giving camp in the worst possible way. And I think
Mm.
Sauron could fall into that.
true.
So, and
Can't be Sauron.
Saruman and Grima are like washed up has-beens.
They
Literally
are-
washed up by the end.
Boo.
They are just,
But
I mean, they're the wannabes. They want to be the big villains.
Yeah.
yes.
I love the name of the Witch King. I think the Ring Race were at their best in movie one. They were at their
Oh yeah, when they were
Yes,
just like
I
these like
agree.
unstoppable hunting machines.
Yeah.
Mm.
Now they're just
Just-
like
They just like randomly show up.
Well,
And,
now
like,
they're just
strange.
like enemies in a video game that you have
Yeah.
to beat. Basically.
Yeah.
they're like a higher boss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Smeagol, Gollum. Ugh.
A little crackhead.
Yeah. I did not feel bad for him in this movie. Like
by that point, like you feel bad for him in the second movie because he is actually trying to reform. He's actually putting in the effort. But as soon as he does the whole crumbs on his jackets, it's just like, get the fuck out of here.
Like as soon as he does Sam dirty, I'm like, nah, okay,
see,
sorry.
I go even further forward. I'm going right to scene 1. He is Smeagol, and he is like we said, he sees that ring and it's just like, oh, that's a great excuse to choke this man out.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, God, this person sucks.
Not even this man, isn't that his cousin or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is. Yeah.
I think
Deagle. Smeagol and Deagle.
Smeagol and Deagle.
I think in Rivendell on the CW, I want Emma Roberts to play Gollum. Like, I want surprise, bitch. You like something left to me. Like,
I love that.
I will make like the fans who hated Rings of Power, which I haven't finished still.
They'll hate this even more.
Like, I'm like, you thought that was the greatest evil? No.
Just wait.
Rings of Power made them so angry. You're gonna make them so angry they have an aneurysm or something. like they form a blood clot in their brain.
You missed Glorfindel in the movies. Now he's played by KJ Apa and he's shirtless most of the time. And he does not have long elf hair. He has like a spike, a spiky like teen boy haircut. Oh,
that's better and better.
That the thing is, it's like I'm mostly joking, but part of me is like,
no, he's writing this in his head. I can see it in his eyes. You
know me.
It's trashy, but it'd be my trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Which isn't that Glee?
That's
High
Glee.
School Musical, Twilight. Like,
yes, it's trash, but it's my trash. I love this
it's
trash.
Not my
Look
trash
at my
though.
trash.
So when you start unloading it in my living room, I get upset.
Is Lindsay Lohan Galadriel?
Oh my god.
Yes.
She's thick of rumors. She's thick of rumors star, and she has a ring now. She's stopping those rumors. Okay.
He's on a roll.
Denethor sucked. Hate him.
Agreed.
Mouth of Sauron, Abercrombie.
Denethor needs better table manners. He's
does.
like loudly tearing a chicken apart. Like,
you run a country, bro.
Sir, use a knife and fork on this rotisserie chicken, please.
Imagine that state dinner. Like, it's like Denethor, it's Theoden in top Grima era. They're like drooling at the table, and you have like Eowyn sitting there like cutting her chicken in like tiny pieces and like eating it, like about to cry. It's like the worst Thanksgiving. I can see it now. Denethor's talking politics, and it's like she's like
through his mouth, like through his food.
Tomato.
Like
he's like
chewing it.
There's a gay bar called the Withy Window that I'm gonna shut down.
and meanwhile, like, Theoden is just like 1,000-yard stare, just like.
And she's like, "Oh, my cousin had a bachelorette party there." Yeah, Mouth of Sauron sucks. The orcs are scary. Mouth of Sauron sucks in a good way. Like, he's so annoying, and like Aragorn cuts his head off, and it's satisfying.
We do suffer from a lack of sexy orcs in this one. We don't have like the buffs. Okay, Saruman was gay because he's like, I'm going to improve the orcs, and they're all like really buff, like men, and he's like perfect.
He's playing It's Raining Men. It's raining orcs.
This is for me.
It's raining orcs.
That's in our second draft of Lord of the Rings the musical. Wonderful. Or the musical episode of Rivendell. Each season will have a musical episode.
Yes.
God, I would watch this show.
I
would watch this show and I would love it.
Terrible. It's terrible.
Okay, themes. Again, same as last time. I think
friendship,
loyalty. I think the new ones in this theme are you got to fight for those you love, or in this movie, and you got to accept your role in the story, your destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And this does it well, because usually I hate when characters in a story acknowledge they're in a story. The show Once Upon a Time did that up the wazoo. They're like, where's my happy ending? I'm like, who talks like that? Like, Snow White is a better story if it's just a girl being, what the fuck is my life?
My happy ending.
Avril Lavigne, where's my happy ending? She did it best. I can't say that about Keep Holding On, but I can say that about It was my happy ending.
Your favorite song about a blue dragon.
Yes.
Keep holding on.
And a blonde Christian cheerleader who's pregnant.
Another another good theme was definitely hope in the face of hopelessness, probably.
Yeah.
Like
I think that's the big franchise theme. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it all gets summarized in that one scene with Gandalf and Pippin, where Pippin's like, I didn't know it would end like this. And Gandalf's like, end? No. That's just another part of life.
Yeah.
I just got chills again.
Look, Ian McKellen just can destroy any fucking heart.
Yeah, where was his
anywhere.
Oscar for this? That's
that's actually a really good point.
I remember just this one interview he was talking about where fucking Professor McGonagall, what's that actress's name?
Maggie Smith.
Maggie Smith. Like they were both like at an award thing, and he had like this good luck stone from New Zealand, and she's like, "Oh, what's that?" And he was like, "Oh, it'll give me luck to win an award." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And they both go into like the award show, and he like everyone wins but him. And then like they come out, and she just goes, "Didn't work, did it?"
Oh, yikes!
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so glad that we had both Ian McKellen and Maggie Smith on the podcast. Thank you both for being here. I really appreciate
our
it.
favorite
It's
wizards
my
and
pleasure.
witches.
Yeah. Maggie Smith.
She just says her own name.
She's
Like
a Pokemon.
Gollum.
She's a Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Maggie Smith. Maggie Smith. Ian McKellen.
Yeah, it's like fighting Dame Judi Dench.
Sir Ian
Smith,
McKellen, I choose you.
Too much laughing. I have to pee. We gotta reel it back.
Yeah, we got it.
Gotta reel it back.
We've
We're
almost
at
hit the 3-hour mark.
We're at that. Okay. Our end. Was that your fantasy?
Yes,
Did you love it?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I've loved it from the time I was a young lad to
I must
being a slightly
say-
older lad now.
It also goes with the people I watch it with, because I never got into it because it's a bunch of white men. I was like, I don't care. But with friends who gave it like a queer lens, or with the community, like nerdy friends that really enjoy it and like go all in on it, that's what really made me fall in love with it.
Or your wife who just spends the entire time seething about Gollum.
Yes.
Well, it's if you like looking at it in that kind of white bro action movie lens is like the lamest way to look at it, because the story
Not
is
a good
lot,
movie if you look at it like that.
because there's a lot of richness to it, and the war and the action scenes are shot very well. They're really good action scenes.
They're fun.
It's about what's motivating the characters.
Yes.
And like,
And in the end, it's always friendship.
yeah,
It's always friendship
and love,
community
Friends
and
we
hope
made
and-
along the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why, as I've grown older, I found Two Towers to be the weakest of the three films, because half of it's the Battle of Helm's Deep, and at some point you're just like, okay, come on.
Yeah,
Let's keep
I think
going.
Minas
I
Tirith
agree.
is the more exciting battle because there's a little more variation to it.
Because there are moments of like rest in between like the action, because then you have like Pippin and Gandalf's talk, you have Merry and Eowyn like conversing with
Mhm.
each other, you
I
have
agree.
Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli on theirs. It's drawn out, and
Yeah.
there's more character
Yeah.
development put into the battle.
Yeah, I definitely liked Return of the King better than Two Towers.
Yeah.
Like, especially like the lens that I was really focusing on was like the tenderness between people who have been through war together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so like that is something I really focused on. Again, like talk about the motivations of the characters, like very, very good.
Yeah, I mean the highlight of Two Towers is dance. Like that's what we're
Yeah.
here for. You know?
I said I love walking, talking trees that carry Merry and Pippin through the forest.
Yeah.
I'm there for Horse Girl Aragorn personally.
Yeah.
We're all there. We all get a little something different out of that movie.
So I guess what did we learn today about ourselves? I guess I learned that Faramir is hot. That's what I learned. And that more of our
I
fans are
learned
out
that
there.
no one on this call should be allowed to produce a television show.
Or everyone should.
Everyone,
Actually,
we're a
Paul.
writer's room. I don't know if you know that now. But
Are we a writer? Oh, shit.
We're a writer's
Okay.
room.
We need someone with a different perspective to just keep us a little in check.
We need the realist.
You need me to be slamming my head against the table every now
Yeah.
and again.
I'm like, okay, he's slamming his head against the table. We got to do that. That's
Yeah.
what we're doing.
You gotta double down.
That's-
Paul's
yes.
having an aneurysm. We need to do it.
Legolas is gender swapped
Okay, fine, whatever.
Played by Alihi Carvalho from Moana.
Oh,
She'd do good. She'd be great.
I love that.
Treebeard is played by. Now I'm just pulling shit out of my ass. Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Sure.
Yes.
Frodo. Okay, this is the one that always kills people.
What
did I?
Okay, who's gonna play Frodo? What did you say? Were
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, honestly, he's a little high budget for the CW though. Like,
okay,
Treebeard for Dwayne.
We gotta wait for him on his down.
Yeah. Yeah, we could find off-brand Timothy somewhere. I don't know.
It's you, Paul.
Timothy Chalamet.
Tori, what did you learn?
I think with this most recent rewatch was just like how iconic some of the scenes and the lines were. Like, going into this movie, it's like the beacons are lit. What was it? Rohan will answer. I can carry you. I am no man. Like, those are all just so iconic, and I forgot that they're all in this movie. Yeah. And then just the whole friendship that gets me every time. Yeah. And that'll carry you through life and a pandemic. So thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam. Hannah?
I learned about MerryxEowyn's ship and that it's like a thing. I love this. I love it.
Glad to have you on board.
I have archives of images that I can send you.
Yeah,
perfect.
Send it to Hannah. There's some good
I have
stuff.
a Smithsonian worth of.
All right, so I guess what Paul learned is we should not write a TV show, but that means we should.
In truth, what I have also learned is that this movie never gets old for me.
Yeah.
This rewatch is like, I don't know, like the 30th time I've seen this movie or something. And again, I was still in my seat. I could tell you what line was going to come next. I could quote it, but I was still like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Ride out with me. Who is that? Oh, it's Eowyn.
Yeah.
I feel like I was watching them in bits, and I feel like I was enjoying the franchise more, like watching it like an hour at a time. But with this one, I ended up watching like 2 hours in a row because I was like, we're so close. They're so close to Mount Doom, you know?
Yeah. I did an hour and then three and a half, I think. So I got engrossed in it. I was like, just gonna keep watching.
I just went all the way through because I was already in bed, and I was like, I'll just fall asleep when this is done.
So where can we find the Sillymarillion, where you're currently reading through the Fellowship?
You can find us wherever good podcasts are sold, primarily Spotify. If you just search Sillymarillion, we're like the first result.
We're on Apple, we're on Anchor, we're on Spotify.
We also have a Twitter at Sillymarillions.
That's also our Instagram. And
we also have a Patreon that you guys can subscribe to with various goodies and num-nums. It's at the Sillymarillion.
Yes. Yep. Patreon.com, the Sillymarillion, bonus pods, and going through movies. Usually movies I haven't watched because I have missed a lot of those iconic movies. But currently we swapped it, and I'm showing Paul Twilight because I made so many Twilight references.
I'm tired of these teenagers who aren't teenagers. I'm tired of them.
Where are you guys at right now?
We finished New Moon for for November, and we're taking a break because I'm like, I don't want my holidays to be ruined. So this month our movie is gonna just be A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh, classic choice.
Yeah.
And then our actual Sillymarillion podcast, we went through the Silm, we went through the Hobbit
and now
book
we're on Fellowship.
And movies, and now we're going to the Fellowship, which I've never read, so we're reading it together.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a great time. Hannah, do you want to plug us?
You can follow Not My Fantasy at Not My Fantasy Pod on Instagram and TikTok. Cullen's doing a lot of great work there. The Lord's work over on both of those platforms. And if you're watching on YouTube, hi, give us a comment, subscribe, hit that bell,
smash that like button.
Okay. Definitely give us a comment. It helps with engagement. Even if you're just like, hi, we love that. And also wherever you're listening, just go over to, Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review, let us know what you love, and share us with your friends and family. We want to find more awesome listeners just like you.
And comment either whether or not you ship MerryxEowyn and who's hotter, Aragorn or Faramir.
Okay, well, that's a losing battle.
I know it's a losing battle, but I mean, I watched Glee starting in 2019.
Losing battle.
I'm sorry, but Faramir does not dramatically open up a doorway, so
it's not that. No, how much?
He can dramatically open other things.
Yeah, how much? Name the amount of nymph
blood. That's your best argument yet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we were doing another 3-part series up next of much shorter movies, and not a franchise. We're doing 3 adaptations of the same story. We're entering Valentine's season. Time to get a little less high fantasy, a little more low fantasy.
I'm on the edge of my seat. What is it?
We're talking Beauty and the Beast.
A tale as old as time.
Tale as old as time. And kind of actually, it's a very old story. At least the version Beauty and the Beast,
the original one,
is not super old, but the themes. We'll be going on a journey over several tale types. We'll be even maybe back to ancient Rome.
Oh,
exciting! I'll be there. I'll be
hooked.
Listening in.
I'm also hooked. Yeah, I'll be listening.
I mean, I'll be there. I'm co-host.
You gotta be. You're contractually obligated.
Cullen, I have a question. Are you going to be giving your presentation you gave in grad school about how Beauty and the Beast is not Stockholm Syndrome?
Yes. Yeah. Again,
or we could save that for a little special thing that we might set up next year.
Oh,
speaking of Patreon,
I don't know. We gotta invoke. That's the argument is built on the work of internet founder Lindsay Ellis. She really put it. She put it into words for me. Yeah. All right, but we have capped the Sillymarillion for several hours.
At first when we were like, oh, it's gonna be I'm like, you know what, I'll put off dinner, I'll just go.
I'm regretting it too.
How long can it take? And it's like, oh, we would almost be close to the end of the film by now.
Yeah,
there was a lot to talk.
There's a lot to
before
talk
you
about.
Hopped on, Paul. We were like, we're gonna muster through this. We're not gonna talk about every little thing because that would take 10 hours. We'll talk about as much.
I wasn't there for that. So
and the thing is, we
still
didn't even talk about every little thing. We moved pretty quickly through these movies, but
there are so many lines that I could just quote and then gush about in that film. But people are busy. People got things to do.
Yeah. They're like, I have to get into work. Can you guys just shut the fuck up? Thank you.
Yeah.
And with that,
I look forward to watching a movie that is not 3 hours.
90 minutes.
90 minutes.
Before you close it, thanks for having us. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you for being here. You guys are amazing.
It was so much fun. And so glad we made it through kind of the big iconic fantasy franchise, the foundation, the text.
Of the text,
Yeah. And Shrek. It's this and Shrek.
Yep.
Yeah.
The text that is Shrek.
All right. Well, tune in later this month to hear about Tales of this Time.
Bye.
Bye.